Hello, 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 hello. Greetings, 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 greetings. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Salutations, 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 salutations. Salutations, 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 salutations. Share the life, share the life, share the life, share the life. Let every man and woman beneath the earth, on the earth, and in the heavens share this life. Let every soul that's in heaven, in the clouds, between the clouds and the ground, under the ground, even beneath what's under the ground, share this life. Share it with your ancestors, share it with your parents, share it with even those who have died and are long gone. Tap the screen, tap the screen, tap the screen. For every tap you tap, a family member in heaven will get candy. That's right. Every time you tap the screen, one of your family members who is no more, who is in heaven, is going to get holy candy. I have already instructed the angels of the Most High to hand out candy to anybody whose family members are currently tapping this live. So please don't miss out on your blessing. And while you're at it, please don't forget to sow a seed in the ministry. That's right. Because here we are doing the work of the Most High. We do not collect 10%. We require 20% of your income. And give willfully. Do not harden your hearts. Tap the screen, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome once again to Bakanga land. If you think I was joking with my introduction, I wasn't. That's right. Your family member is really going to get holy candy. And if you even send more than just one tap on the screen, they might get a spar session with Angel Gabriel. They might get a full body massage, a holy massage from Angel Raphael. And they'll get to shower with the holy water that comes out of the throne. Tap the screen if you believe in the same fantasies that we were talking about. Tap the screen, tap the screen, tap the screen. There is no God. There never has been. There never would be. That is our subject of conversation. When you come up, go straight to your point. If you're a troll, then just stay trolling in the comment section, to be honest. Today, you know what? I make no promises. Let's just go along with it. All right? Without much ado, I will initiate this session. Send your request if and only if you disagree with me. I repeat, send your request if and only if you disagree with me. All right? Ibrahim, unmute yourself, gentlemen. If there's no me, why are you talking to me? 1 second. Why do you send your request if you're not ready to come up? It is common sense that there is no God. If that's what you're talking about, Angelon. It is common sense that there is no God. Everybody knows what God is, especially those who believe. And we all know it's not real. That's a very bold claim that you could make me a Muslim. Do you know who I am? Is this your first time encountering Bakanga? What's most likely to happen is that you will be Bakangalized. I will be giving you a reality check. I will be reorganizing your mentality and perhaps save you from your fictitious delusions. Ladies and gentlemen, please, let's get on this. We only have 4 shares and 4,000 likes. Our goal to initiate the show is 20,000 likes. So please jump on heavily on that like button. Tap. If you hit that share arrow at the bottom of the screen, you would see something that says to repost. You can repost the live and it will put it on your For You page. And the brothers and sisters will be here to hear the good word and the good news of Bakanga. I do in fact bring good news. That heaven is a fantasy. Hellfire is a fantasy. But earth, our world, is real. We have no other home, nor destination. Here is where we are, and here is where we shall be, as we have always been. If there is anything you desire to accomplish, accomplish it on earth. Make no reservations for a life after death. For death is a final destination, beyond which there is no life. It's almost like he doesn't know what happens after you die. Anybody who claims that they know what happens after you die beyond being dark and put into the ground is a bombastic liar. That's right. If you claim that human beings experience anything other than being buried 6 feet deep, you, my friend, are a twisted, professional, incarcerated, pathological liar. I don't even know what those words mean. Who created you? One of the number one signs of, let me not say foolishness, of low brain power in 2025 is that when someone talks about God, you automatically associate the idea of God with who would have created human beings. Do you not know that you have a father and a mother? Zoo, I will not be appreciating any trolling, right?
Bakanga, when you was in the other room,
I will not be appreciating any trolling today, brother.
That mean don't say anything?
That you should say something of substance.
Are you waiting on me to say something of substance? And you know that I believe
yeah, and something of substance typically would follow the subject at hand.
Okay. What subject are you talking about, Bakanga?
I think it's fair for me to say thank you for your time, bro. I say no trolling.
Be upon you. You sound dumb, Bakanga.
Sure.
How could you say
sure
that? How could you say that?
Sure, brother. Whatever makes you sleep at night. All right. If you are incapable of reading, I will repeat it. I said there is no God, and I can convince anyone. If you come up here, do me a favor. Stick to the subject at hand. All right. If you just want to troll, well, I do love trolling, for it's quite entertaining. However, today, you know what today is today. If you want to troll, come and find out. If you have nothing of substance, keep scrolling or just hang out and get entertained. The llama.
Yes, BK.
You're not trolling, but your sound is trolling.
What up? How?
Sir, there's too much of an echo.
I'm kind of in the corridor, you
You sound like you're in the corridor of hell.
know. And you say there is no God. And you say there is no God, bro.
I have spoken, and my words are final.
Then how can there be you if there is no God?
Go and ask my father and mother.
But I'm asking you, it's you I can see in front of me.
And I am pointing you towards my father and my mother.
And I'm telling you, I can't see any pointing. I can't see them present. You are the one who's in front of me, so you better
Well,
start
if you're not
talking.
smart
How
enough
do
to know
you
that my
who's talking
existence is
to me,
explained
who
by
I
my father
see,
and my mother,
who
then thank you for your time, bro. Come on. I don't want to tolerate stupidity today. If you come up, bring something of substance. Don't ask me an obvious question about something with an obvious answer. All right? If you want to be a dumbass today, you can be a dumbass by yourself. If you have a substantial argument or a point or a question, then feel free to share that with me. What's going on, Broken Room?
Hey, how you doing today?
Fantastic.
Yeah, so I'm like definitely a spiritual person. I definitely think there's like a higher power that governs reality, that makes the rules, that controls the show. I'm not part of any one religion. I'm not, I'm not part of a specific religion, but I believe I'll put it this way. If we're in a TV show, I think there's a director. I think there's something calling the shots.
What power calls the shots of gravity?
God.
How?
Through his godlike abilities to control
Yeah,
gravity.
that sounds like foolery.
Then where does gravity come from?
Wherever it comes from, it ain't God. We know that
Why not?
because we have no proof that God exists, and you literally just filled in the gap of your ignorance with God. That's bombastically stupid.
Yeah, well, gravity is a more simple example. Like, how do you explain certain things like how math
Naturally,
maps?
go to school, study geography, biology, whichever one of the disciplines you are lacking in, study it. You will understand that there is no God involved. There are many things involved with natural phenomenons, and God ain't one of them. You see, this world got 99 problems, and God ain't one.
All right, so
The
tell me
only
this:
place,
what are you made out of? What is your body made out of?
whatever it is, it ain't God.
I'm asking you. I'm asking you. What is your body made out of?
Who knows? Flesh and blood,
Yeah, and what's flesh and blood made out of?
elements.
So if we get down to it, they're made out of atoms. Then what are atoms made out of? Atoms are made out of quarks. Do you know where quarks come from?
Tell me.
They come from an excitation in a quantum field. Do you know what a quantum field is?
Tell me.
It is an immaterial plane of information.
All right.
So an immaterial plane of information is something that's not physical. It's made out of information. That's what
If
God
it's not
is.
physical, what is it made of?
Information.
Information is tangible.
That's what a quantum field is. It's an informational constraint.
So information has a form and a shape.
No, it gives rise to form and shape. It
Yeah.
orchestrates form
What
and
is the
shape.
innate state of the information in of itself?
Pattern, repetitive sequences.
No, I'm talking about within reality. I'm not just talking about concepts in your head.
Like, what is the ontological ontological
Yes.
grounding of
Yes.
information?
Yes.
The relation of things, how things relate to one another.
What form?
It doesn't have a form.
What is it constituted of?
It's a
Does it
the
occupy
relation of-
space? Does it
Sorry?
occupy space?
No,
If it doesn't occupy space, where is it located?
exactly. That's the mystery. That's why physicalism hits a dead end,
If it doesn't occupy space, how do you know it's there?
because everything operates in constraint with it. Because
How do you know that everything operates in constraint with it? And how do you know that it is it?
Information? How, because why does the scientific method work? Because things are repeatable.
That has nothing to do with it. How do you know that it is it if it's not made up of matter or some form of matter?
How, like, so you're saying, like, how could I
It
even
needs to be made
you
up
don't
of
gotta interrupt me. I'm
something in
being
order
polite
to
with you.
occupy space. So it needs to be somewhere at some point in time, in some
Listen,
shape
brother,
or form, in order
I'm
for
being
it to
very
be real.
polite with you. I'm being very polite. I'm not trolling. I'm being very polite. I'm not interrupting you. So don't
And I
interrupt
haven't
me.
said you have been not. I haven't said you haven't been polite.
Just please don't interrupt me, and I won't interrupt you.
No, I feel I have the right to interrupt my guest at any point. I hope that's not offensive to you.
You know what? I'll let it slide because you seem like a cool guy. And typically, I don't like when people interrupt me. I just think it's disrespectful as a man to a man.
Yeah, I think it's disrespectful when people come up here and tell me how to run my show. I think that as a guest in my house, you should at least respect the fact that it is my house. If I came to your house, I would respect the rules that you tell me to abide by.
Yeah, but if I had someone at my house, I would still not interrupt them. If I had a friend over,
Those are your morals. They ain't mine.
So you think you should? So it's moral to just be
I
like,
will do
leave
what I
someone in
want,
your house?
when I want, how I want in my house if it's not inherently degrading your dignity as a human being.
I mean, I would say interrupting me is degrading of my dignity.
No, it's not. That's just me taking control of the narrative on my show.
So is this like an honest conversation, or do you just want?
It is a very honest conversation if you will handle the subject at hand and give me the answers that are consistent with the questions at hand.
So you're familiar with It from Bit, right?
Whatever it is, the conclusion you drew is inconsistent with actual reality.
How is it inconsistent? I'm literally speaking about quantum
You
mechanics.
said something about quantum fields and information. What does the information constitute of? It can't just be in thin air or imaginary.
Well, it
or
is. That's what the
non-existent.
science says. That's what quantum mechanics says. That's
Okay, does quantum
Don't take it up
mechanics
with
say it's
me.
God?
No, they call it quantum fields.
Does quantum mechanics say they have mastered it?
No.
What, did quantum mechanics detect it somewhere at some point in some shape or form?
They detect that quantum fields exist, yes.
Did they detect it somewhere at some point in time in some shape or form?
It's not a shape. It doesn't have form. It's
Did
constrained.
they detect
create
it
form.
somewhere at some point in time in some shape or form?
What they detected was things that can exist only because quantum fields exist. So they never directly measure a quantum field.
So they have never detected quantum fields themselves.
Not directly, no.
So it's still a theory with a lot of doubt, shrouded in doubt.
It's still the best theory we've got, and it's the one
That's
that
fine. Science definitely doesn't make claims of being all-knowing, but progressively, science allows itself to theorize and learn and compare theories against evidence obtained. Right. Now,
from my perspective, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
My question for you is, did they detect these quantum fields in whatever shape or form as something being somewhere at some point in time in some shape or form, whether it is that they can define it yet or not? Because science has never said that something can exist without being somewhere in some shape or form. All right? It's impossible.
That's Newtonian physics. Science has evolved past that.
Beyond Newtonian physics, whether it is the idea of multiple dimensions or multiple universes, or where elements or quarks or quantum fields manifest themselves differently, they will still need to occupy space in some shape or form at some point in time to be considered real or even worthy of scientific inquiry. Science doesn't go around chasing ghosts.
The category error is you're saying a quantum field must contain space, but space is what quantum fields give rise to. Space is what, quantum fields are like the shape of the box. If space is the box, quantum fields is the shape of the box.
So the quantum field, as the shape of the box, is the form of the box.
Right, yeah. So if we use the analogy of like a cardboard box.
Hold up. Let's slow it down. Quantum fields is the form of the box.
That's like an analogy. It's not quite literal.
It is your analogy.
Yeah, it's an analogy.
Like I said, it must exist somewhere at some point in time in some shape or form. In some shape or form.
No,
in some shape or form. I repeat, some shape or form.
That's a misunderstanding. No, it's more of like a constraint. It's like we say shape because that's the most intuitive word for like the human
So in some shape or form.
No, it's what creates shape and form. That's what a quantum field is. A quantum field is the conditions that create shape.
So how does it create shape or form without being ontologically real?
It's the ground of reality. That's like the base layer of reality. It's like as low
That's
as
what we thought about atoms before we found out more about them. We don't make any drastic conclusions following that line of reasoning anymore.
So you think
unless we have complete mastery, unless we have complete mastery over a subject, we don't make bold claims like that.
So you think that there might be even more fundamental properties to reality?
There are more fundamental properties. And the only way we are going to qualify to say that is if within our science and the totality of our knowledge, we have complete mastery over the subject, which we clearly don't. We would never have arrived at quantum fields if we had your mentality. But I see that you don't have the time to wait for the investigation to be completed, so you just fill in the gap with God. As is typical of the God of the gaps.
No, what it is the scientific community renamed God quantum fields. I'm not doing the God of the gaps.
No, sir.
It was called God first.
Science never has any responsibility to rename God.
Well, they did, because if you look at
God
what all the mystics
is a purely religious concept, shrouded in myths, legends, and superstition.
Not purely religious. It's also a mystical and an esoteric concept.
There's nothing mystical outside of the bounds of the superstitions. All the mysticism associated with God is within the bounds of the superstitions, a place of ignorance to begin with.
How do you explain Hindu mysticism that basically described God as the same thing as a quantum field?
That's not true.
Yeah, Brahman is essentially a poetic way of describing a quantum field. That's the
again, Brahma is a concept. I agree. Within Hindu science, I agree. But Brahma is also embodied by a being that is literally a
Brahma
thinking
and Brahman
being.
are two separate entities. They have a similar sounding name. Two separate things, though.
All right. So in one capacity, one is a deity, a god, as it is traditionally religious.
Yeah,
and one
Brahma.
is scientific, philosophical, and conceptual in nature.
Man, you know your shit. You're good. I got to give it to you. No, because Brahman with an N at the end, not an A, is described as the immaterial informational source of reality. Not an entity, not a personal deity, but the
Let me ask you a question.
Informational source of reality. Yeah, sure, go ahead.
What makes something material?
As opposed to, it could be, if it's a particle, it's material. If it's a boson, it's
What are particles made of?
Quarks.
So the particle is like the house, and the quarks are like the bricks that make up the house.
Yeah, the quarks are like the bricks.
Elementarily, in terms of constitution, are the bricks that make up the house any different from the house? Elementarily? If I make the bricks out of clay, can I say the house is made of clay?
Yeah, that would make
All right,
sense.
so what you don't know is that when we talk of material, we talk of all things that exist. There's just different types of materialism. That's why I tell people, I literally inform people, this is a simple concept, and this truth, I don't think I invented it, because if I came to this conclusion, smarter people than me should have come to this conclusion already. Something cannot exist if it's not physical. It's gonna have a physical form, occupy physical space within physical time, in some shape or form. Now we don't understand
the laws of logic.
We don't understand all aspects of space. We don't understand all aspects of matter, nor do we understand all aspects of time. But those are the three governors of existence. It cannot exist unless it is somewhere, in some shape or form, at some point in time. If you make it to where it is nowhere, at no point in time, in no shape or form, you have literally defined something which does not exist. We must distinct. Okay? So
Can I ask you
if
something?
maybe your argument is that we haven't properly defined existence, I will give you that.
Can
But
I
then
ask
you
you
will have to
something?
ground that.
Can I ask you something that's like a man to a man? How come
Go ahead.
at first when I asked you what are you made of, you played dumb and you acted like you didn't know, but now that we've talked, it's clear that you understand physics, it's clear that you know what quarks are, it's clear that you know all of this stuff. So why did you play dumb with me at first?
I wasn't necessarily playing dumb. I was just watering down my knowledge to see if you could teach me something. And it seems like you also have the same level of elementary knowledge on the
Okay.
subject. I don't think any of us are experts, right?
That's fair.
But
Yeah.
you and I are not completely ignorant on the subject.
I think this was a
we're
fun
both.
debate. I think this was good because you made me sharpen my sword a little bit. You didn't fully 100% convince me to, not believe anymore, but you made me, look at it in a different way. So I think this was a productive debate.
That means I convinced you. You just have to wrestle with your own insecurities, because if what I said was true and you don't have any information to the contrary, it doesn't change what you believe. But as far as what you know is real, you will not disagree with me. Because I have not brought an argument out of ignorance. I've brought an argument based on consistent knowledge that you and I can both analyze. Though we might come to different conclusions, you cannot necessarily invalidate what I said. And what I said remains true, as it is the result of what we observe. Like I said, if you define your God in any way as something which is nowhere, meaning that it occupies no space, if you define your God as something which has no form, meaning that it's constituted of nothing, it's nothing. And if you define your God as being outside of time, that means it cannot be found at any point in time. You have literally defined your God as something which doesn't exist. Now, if you define your God as something which can be found somewhere, in some shape or form, at some point in time, then you might be describing something very real, though it might not be a God. That's what I think is happening to you. You're just not ready to scrap the word God because somehow you want to simplify it back to your religious dogma. But if you free yourself from religion, you will see how easy it is for you to
I'm not
see the world
even
as it
fully
is.
religious. I'm not a part of any one religion. I'm not a Christian. I'm not a Muslim. I'm not a Jew. I'm not a Hindu. I'm not part of any
Then
one
guess
religion.
what? Then guess what? You can just be a realist. You can just be a scientist. You know what amazing thing about you being a scientist? If you are so sure, it's because you've arrived at a point where you believe that what you claim can be tested and can be peer reviewed, and the peer reviewer would come to the same conclusion. Your knowledge will never be grounded based on your conviction. It will simply be grounded based on if it's testable or not. It's like creating a trust and an LLC, and then putting all your properties under the LLC to where if anything happens and someone wants to sue you, they can't sue you because you're nowhere.
Yeah,
you see what I'm saying?
I suppose what I define God as is the informational ground of reality. I don't necessarily think it's a man in the sky who will send you to hell if you're gay or this or that. I don't.
Well, brother, but that's the problem. You should ask yourself why you have the need to redefine God, rather than simply understand these concepts as they are without necessarily taking a word which has already been coined from a superstitious, mythological, religious perspective. For example, right? It's like the problem that a lot of people have with LGBT folks. They're redefining marriage, where marriage has already been defined as a union between a male and a female. So now, in order for them to qualify the type of partnership or union that they want to have, they are redefining marriage altogether. So naturally, people who think that marriage is between a man and a woman would have a problem with them. You see, LGBT people could have just come up with a new word for their type of union, and everybody would have respected it and had no problem with it. You see what I'm saying? You don't have to redefine the word God. God is defined as a supreme being, creator of all things, and the source of all moral authority. That's the definition of God.
That's one definition, but there's been a lot of spiritual traditions that define God more of like what I say, the informational source of reality. That's what the Hindus believe.
So check this out. Check this out.
Sure.
And within all these spiritual schools of thought that you're talking about, the only reason why they would have defined God in that way was to make the idea of the principles they were talking about consumable to the average dumb human. Oh, let me not use the word dumb, uneducated human. This is actually a very common practice in ancient times. You see, the average person was illiterate. Average person did not understand basic shit. The most educated people found it very difficult to communicate with regular people. So they will literally have to use childlike tactics in order to, like illustrations, to make people understand shit. In order for people to understand the sunrise and the sunset and even be interested, they needed you to make the sun a person and make it a game, make it a story that's interesting, that will get their attention.
Yeah,
so you always see allegories and metaphors, personifications being used to build a bridge between science and religion, when in fact, in the literal sense, the narrative as prescribed spiritually or religiously is not true. In the literal sense, it is not what it is metaphorically.
So you're saying that these mystics of the ancient times just used it in a mythological way?
That is the. I'm going to tell you what the secret of the mysticism is. The mysticism wasn't the subject itself; it was the method of delivery. That is why the mysticism is not necessarily beyond human comprehension. Should a person be initiated in a specific school of thought, you can be taught to understand those things. It's not that mystical. If it was mystical, they wouldn't know it themselves. It's the method of delivery. Yeah. And to a certain extent, think about mathematics. We would not be able to consume mathematics if we did not invent certain symbols to allow our brains to relate with them.
Can I ask you a question? So let me ask, you think if the mystics of the ancient times could have outright just said, yeah, it's quantum fields, and they wouldn't have been executed for that, and people would have understood that, they would have just said that to begin with, but they said it's God because the average person wouldn't understand what a quantum field is, so they use the word God to make the average person understand it? Is that what you're getting at?
The average person can be a very hostile entity when they are insecure about where they think they are, what they think they're doing, how they think they're doing it. So people's emotion needed to be catered to. And of course, with that kind of power comes the possibility of exploitation. And that system was long exploited by scammers. They just started making outrageous claims because remember, it is not the knowledge itself that is mystical, it's the method of delivery. And with association with mysticism came with a level of prestige. So people just invented bullshit.
Most atheists on TikTok don't know about mysticism. They only know about religion. And I try to explain to people.
I'm African and I was a Christian for a long time. And I am an honest person. I ground myself within honesty.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a follow. I think you're a good dude because a lot of the atheists on this app, they're not metaphysically atheist. They're culturally atheist. Like they only do it because they want to rebel against the American culture. I don't know if you've ever been to the US, but it's a very Christian country. And,
no, I live in the US. I think that they're just Christian. In fact, you're correct. It's very Christian in word. In claims only, but not in practicality.
Of course, yeah. But
guess what I think, bro? I think that if Americans were really practically Christians, that would be exactly where you and I are. There's a level of dishonesty that's necessary for you to be a Christian. You have to pretend like a lot of things don't exist in order for you to rationalize your religion. You have to fill in a lot of gaps where there are reasonable questions that must be answered. For example, right? Let me ask you this question. I don't know. You say you're not a Christian necessarily, so you might be able to see the benefit in this question. Sure. How many Christians do you think could ask themselves this question and answer it honestly? Is it possible that God could exist even if Christianity is 100% a lie? How many Christians do you know that could ask that question and legitimately and honestly set out on a journey to investigate that? That will require that they give every other religion in the world, every other school of thought in the world, their undivided attention as much as they do to Christianity, something which they are not emotionally ready to do because it's going to break them out of their delusions.
I think maybe 1%.
1% is too much. 1% of 1%.
Yeah.
Listen, right, bro. There is a certain bliss in ignorance, okay, bro? If you don't understand that, just look at children. The innocent happiness and joy of a child is 100% a product of its ignorance.
Can I ask you a question now? I know Africa is people there are very spiritual. Is it hard for you to be an atheist in Africa? Do you find that in social situations it could be an impediment to you? It could be like a social...
It's hard for my brethren But it's
Yeah.
not hard for me because of the unique way that I left Christianity. You see, I did not come out of my religion out of ignorance. I studied my way out of it. So I pretty much have a rebuttal for any conceivable argument that anyone can put in front of me. And I understand the religion enough to just use anyone's religion to cut them with it. So, to be honest, I'm the type of person that if you wage war against me, I will use your own weapons against you. That's the benefit of studying your way out of a system rather than resenting and living a system out of ignorance or emotions.
Yeah, that's most TikTok atheists that do these live streams.
I am only atheist by
Yeah.
definition. Identifyingly, I prefer to call myself a realist. I think that in order for me to argue against Christianity, I need to understand Christianity as well as a Christian, if not better. So I need to invest more, equal, if not more time in the Bible, reading it as a Christian, understanding it as a Christian,
So by
and
your same standards,
then
I
I'll
would
be
an
worthy of
atheist.
criticizing it.
By your same standards, I would be an atheist because it seems that we
You
don't
are an
really-
atheist. By
I
definition, simply. But then, in terms of how you might identify, because there is a unique aspect to your own school of thought, there you might be able to identify as something else, preferably something that you understand better. But by definition, you do lack a belief in God, as God is traditionally understood. You are an atheist.
Yeah, like the stereotypical dad in the sky, I don't believe in.
That's right. And I think that your usage of that word is just your empathy and you trying to relate to the religious people. You're trying to make them feel like they're not completely delusional, where in fact, what they do need is that blunt face truth.
I suppose you've encountered people like me before because you seem like you already know how to address me.
Facts, bro. The smartest people that come up here that argue the existence of God usually end up sounding just like you. And I think that the idea of God, think about it, bro. Let me tell you something. I don't care if you go home right now and personally in your closet, you pull out your Bible and you start praying to Jesus, even right after having this conversation with you. Because I've already confirmed that your brain is able to analyze this data.
Oh, I don't even own a Bible, so that ain't happening.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Even if you were to, even if I was to see you tomorrow preaching the gospel, I won't have any problem with you. Personally, I might have a problem with the fact that you might be intentionally deceiving people, but as far as what you're doing and your claims, I will not see any problem with it because I've already confirmed that you got it figured out. Think about it, bro. My advice to Christians is if you figure out that Christianity is a scam and you don't necessarily want to live it, become a scammer too. Become a pastor, open your own church. At least you're going to make money. At least you're going to take care of your family. At least you might be able to use it to help those people that can't help themselves. Right? Rather than you knowing that it's full of shit and then you still go and sit down in somebody else's business and you give them your money every week. You could be collecting the money yourself.
It's kind of
When
a good
I came
idea.
to the point where I disconstructed from my religion, I had two options, bro. I could have kept being a Christian. I probably could have opened a mega church. I could have had a lot of followers and women and money. But my journey started from a very young age. And I'm the kind of person that I want to know the real truth about anything. I could care less what I own. If I know the real truth about something, it fulfills me. And my mom set me out on that journey from a young age. I was raised a Christian. And I asked my mom, who created God? And my mom told me, when you get to heaven, ask God. So from a very young age, I wanted to get to heaven. But then I also knew that, based on the Bible stories, I knew at that point that God talks to people. And God talks to people that believe, behave, and act like the people in the Bible. So I had no choice but to emulate what I read and understood in the Bible from every conceivable and learnable perspective. And as I learned, more questions arose. Questions sometimes that I would put to the side because it was blasphemy to even ask such questions. But when I grew up and I was mature enough and I had enough mental fortitude, I was able to face a lot of those questions. Now I can answer those questions because I have no emotional attachment to the fairy tales. There's some people whom for them, the Bible has to be the truth. It's not that the Bible is the truth. It has to be. Though they've never read it, though they've flipped a couple of pages, but they go into the book already assuming that it must be the truth. And that if it's not the truth, nothing else is true. Such people cannot learn. You know, I encourage Christians to read the Bible. Shit, find a version without chapters and verses. You will see how it's a complete different story. Because the original version did not have chapters and verses. The inclusion of chapters and verses is an edit that was performed thousands of years later. within those edits, you have the intentions of the editor, which are definitely not the same as that of the original writers, because if they thought that it was necessary to divide what they wrote in chapters and verses, they would have.
Yeah, man, I really gained a lot from this conversation. I think, like you kind of, like you said, we don't even really disagree at the end of the day. I guess
No, we do not, bro. And the only thing we literally disagree is your choice of words.
Yeah,
ideologically, you and I 100% agree. I don't disagree with anything you're saying except your choice of word. And I think that you, as a skilled person, and let me use the word, as an honest person, you should be really honest with yourself, bro. And you don't have to cater to any insecurities in other people.
Can I tell
God
you
has already been defined in a specific way. You are having to redefine God to tell me about something which is actually real. And I'm pointing out to you that, yeah, that thing is real, but it's not God.
Can I use one more? Can I give you one more reason why I use that word? This
Go
is
ahead.
going to sound personal, and it's going to sound a bit poetic. I'm not trying to be poetic, but I genuinely love reality. I have a genuine love for existence and a love for life. So for me, I want to call it God because I feel like calling it anything else doesn't describe how much I revere it. But
Guess what?
What?
Bro, and that's such an honest truth, bro. How could I possibly have a problem with you calling it God outside the realm of intellect? Within your personal life, that's why I said to you, bro, if you went home right now and you got into the closet and you start praying, I won't have a problem. Because some people don't understand that we have emotional desires. We have a way we feel like we want the world to be, and we also have the capacity to see the world as it is. You have already seen the world as it is. You are choosing to redefine it that way for your personal emotional reasons.
Yeah.
And how could anyone ever have a problem with that?
Yeah, honestly, bro, I think this is the best conversation I've had with an atheist in my entire life.
Duh.
I want to say God bless you for that, but you don't believe in God. But I feel
Listen,
compelled.
you can say God bless me, and I'm just gonna say to you, Donald Trump bless you too.
And what I mean when I say God bless you, more so means like I wish you good fortune. Like I
wish me well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Do you know why the words take form through the art of spelling?
Why?
Spelling is the art of using sound carefully patterned out to influence behavior. And you have to understand that and know that and intentionally use your words while knowing what you're doing. The problem is that most people use words and we spell them out. We spell sentences out, clauses out, paragraphs out, essays out, points out, and we don't really understand what we're doing. You see, because I am at a certain level of enlightenment, I don't really have a problem with the spells you are casting because I understand your intent. I also understand your perspective. And you have been honest with me enough to where even if you said God exists and you thought it was Jesus, I will have no problem with it because I understand exactly what you mean. Now, if somebody else that does not have your level of understanding came up here, I will be at odds with them.
Yeah, it's funny how one person can use all the same words, and then the next guest can use all the same words.
That's the biggest problem about religion, bro.
Yeah.
Bro, the amazing thing is, bro, even within Christianity, bro, they all use the word God and they all use the word Jesus, but fundamentally they all mean different things.
Right.
That's why I see past the words, bro.
Yeah, hell yeah.
When I listen to someone talk to me on TikTok, I'm listening past the words they're using. That's why you often catch me asking people, what does that mean? What does that mean? Define that. Define that. Now, you can subjectively define a word, but you also have to know the standard definition of the word because you and I did not invent the language. So, for example, if I ask you to define God, you're going to define it the way you defined it. And I'm smart enough to see that, okay, that's a redefinition of the word outside of his standard definition. He must be onto something. Now, what is this something? Do I just dismiss him or do I hear his something? And upon listening to your something, you're describing something which is very real. You just picked a specific word that is controversial.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. You know, I think Bakanga, I think you got yourself another W for tonight.
Hey man. The point here is not a W. You see, that's the amazing thing. The point here, bro, is to communicate in the way you and I have communicated. You notice how we had a level of hostility?
Yeah.
You see how quickly you forgot the fact that I was interrupting you? Because you changed the energy. You took leadership and I match your energy. I can only treat a guest in my house as well as they respect the fact that it's my house.
Right. Now you're right.
You and that's good character, bro. I give you credit. You adjusted. Some people, they can't get over their egos.
You know, for better or for worse, my parents raised me to be respectful and honest to people, and I try to live my life by that. And I don't do it because I want to go to heaven. I do it because that's just the right thing to do. And
That's just who you are.
right. But anyway, brother, I'm gonna go make something to eat, but I'm gonna watch in the audience. You have a great weekend.
Thank you, Rune. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you understood. I hope you were observing what just took place here. That's what I call substance. All right? Rune and I agree on some points, and we clearly disagree on other points. But we found the middle ground. We found that place of common understanding, upon which we were now properly able to understand each other. He still believes in God. I say God doesn't exist, and yet he and I get along. Do you now see that you are playing checkers, but I'm playing chess? So don't come up here with your feelings. You just be a dumbass. All right? Tap the screen, tap the screen, tap the screen, ladies and gentlemen. Share the live, share the live. I only see 13 shares. Come on now. Let's not be lazy spectators. Tap the screen, tap the screen, tap the screen. Share the live, share the live, share the live. Mr. Nomad.
Hi, how are you? How are you doing? How are you today? Yeah, fantastic. So you said there is no God, and you said you can convince anyone. I'm not really arguing against that, but my only issue is, isn't God subjective? Because if you project your understanding of God onto every person and then argue that against every person that comes up to you, that's just you arguing against yourself. Because God is subjective. Your belief, so for example, even within that same Africa that you're saying everyone's Christian or Muslims, there are people that are animists. They believe everything has energy, everything has spirit, so everything is God in a sense. So then how would you now debate that? Their understanding of, they're not arguing about a sky daddy, for example.
What is this?
It could be a force or a spirit, could be energy.
What is this?
It's a bottle.
No, it's not a bottle.
Okay, what is it?
This is spiritual liquid in the form of transparent plastic holy vessel.
Okay.
So what is this again?
It's whatever you want it to be.
What is it regardless of what I want? What is it in fact?
What is it in fact? For us,
beyond what I feel like it should be and beyond what you feel like it should be, what is it in fact?
How do we know? Because again, that's still subjective. Just because a couple of people that call themselves civilized in a part of the world name this plastic, we agreed this is plastic. Somewhere else they could agree. Somewhere else they could agree it's a different material. That's still subjective. Just because it's a collective agreement.
The point is, what is it in fact?
It depends what the collective agreement in that society is.
Beyond the collective agreement, what is it in fact? What is it that's provable, testable, and will provide consistent results? What is it?
Water in a bottle.
Thank you. Now, I feel like this is divine holy liquid in a divine holy vessel. That's my subjective perspective. It's only valid within my feelings and emotions, but in the real world, it's absolutely useless.
So just to stop, pause you there. When you say in the real world, can you please explain what that means, please? So we all understand. So we're all on the same page. Because again,
in the world
that's still
that we commonly realize. So in the world outside of my sentiments and my feelings.
Mm-hmm. So you are agreeing.
Within the world that provides data to my five senses, which are then processed by my brain.
Correct.
Yes, within that world, Because we can definitely confirm that it's possible for me to be here right now and not to be in the next minute. And what this thing has to remain itself, regardless of what I thought it was when I was here.
Okay.
Somebody can independently come and test this and come to the same conclusion as somebody from 100 years from now. That's what this bottle really is. That level of peer review is how we ground reality. That's why if I get to the point where I'm having certain profound, deep experiences, especially outside of my body, but it cannot be confirmed or validated by people around me, I begin to demonstrate certain delusional tendencies. It becomes more likely that something is wrong with my brain than that the world is the way I think it is.
Okay, so I'm just trying to see, so what is the point you're trying to make so we're on the same page, please?
That if God is subjective, there will still have to be an aspect of God that is real beyond subjective definitions. And that is what we are currently examining.
That's what subjective means.
That's what we are currently examining right now. All right.
Okay. That's fair, but that's the whole point of subjective. For example, let me give you an example. An example is, for example, if we could both experience, we could go on a roller coaster, and you could experience fear, and I could experience excitement. Why? Because that's subjective. The experience is subjective. You can't say a roller coaster automatically causes fear. You see what I'm saying? Because each individual's experience is subjective. That's what makes us unique. That's what makes reality different. Like you see, all have a different experience. I like that example.
We both went on a roller coaster.
Correct. But what you're trying to do is, okay, wait, let me land. What you're trying to do is say that every experience on a roller coaster automatically equals fear. And because most people experience fear, then that's what it is. And then you are saying that's fear.
No. Every experience on the roller coaster is an experience on the roller coaster. Every experience on the roller coaster is an experience on the roller coaster. But how people feel when they experience that roller coaster does not change the experience on the roller coaster. Let me tell you what the experience on the roller coaster is. You will be strapped down. It will rise up in the air. It will come down at high speed. It will twist around. And you will feel the way you feel. But the person on the ground can observe that experience the same way as someone on the top of a building. So that experience does not take the shape and form of how you felt about it. It takes the shape and form of what is observed to be so consistently.
But that's
you see what I'm saying? So
I'm not arguing. So that was actually a good example. If you are experiencing
this bottle as God, and I'm experiencing it as holy water or holy liquid,
yes,
it doesn't change the fact that it is actually just water.
But that's the point. You're not in that example you gave. I'm not arguing with what you said. That was actually a good example. No, that was a good example. The problem I think you're not hearing me. The problem is you're still assuming we all have to agree that the roller coaster is a god, for example.
That is literally...
that has to be the provable method of God. What if somebody else believes the roller coaster is the sky? Or the roller coaster is the conductor?
Guess
or the roller coaster is the railing?
Guess what? It is more likely that something is wrong with that person's brain. It is more likely that something is wrong with that person's brain than that the roller coaster is a god. In that case, that's how we.
But that's you projecting.
No, listen. That's how we identify mad people from normally functioning people, because we've already studied human behavior to where we know what the standard human behavior is, and any behavior outside of the standard, especially if it doesn't produce consistent result, we call it abnormal.
That's tribal. That's tribalism. For example, do you know once upon a time Darwinism was a thing? So a group of people or a race of people decided you are not even a human being. So is that fair? Is that what you want to argue?
Okay,
that's tribalism.
Hold up, let me give you a perfect example. Some people at some point in time thought that the lightning and the thunder that strikes in the North Sea was Thor's hammer, Mjolnir. The god of thunder.
Again, consensus. It's if a group of people agree on one thing,
listen
doesn't
again.
make it real.
Listen again.
Because it's a subjective.
Some
It's
people,
an agreed upon thing.
Some people in the North Sea, known as the Vikings, used to think that all the thunder in the sky during a storm was caused by Thor's hammer called Mjolnir. So my question for you is, outside of what those people thought, outside of what you and I might feel, what is it in fact that's causing that lightning in the North Sea?
Say that again, please. Sorry.
Outside of what the Vikings thought, which is Mjolnir, outside of
Mjolnir,
what
yeah.
I might feel or I might think subjectively,
Yeah.
what do we commonly know and provably know is causing the lightning in the North Sea?
Build up of energies.
What's testable? Electrostatic energy.
Electrostatic, yeah, energy, yeah.
That's it. Now, how do we define electrostatic energy? We define electrostatic energy consistent with what constitute the lightning, not what we feel like constitute the lightning. So if we are interrogated to prove that, we can demonstrate. Now, why did the people think that it was Thor's hammer? They were ignorant of the subject at hand. So they personified the thunder and the lightning. They gave it human qualities. So that picture that they paint in of itself doesn't exist, though the lightning exists. So you see, some people look at the natural world, and due to their ignorance and incomprehension, they personify the natural world by giving it human-like qualities in an exaggerated form, in a hyperbolic form.
Thank you. So now you're actually coming around to my. No. I agree with that.
Hold up.
You said one word there. You said personify, but that's the problem. That's still subjective. I could personify a rock and say that's God, and say I need to, but that's provable. I can prove the qualities of a rock, and I
That's
can
not
make
my
all the
argument.
arguments.
My argument is not what you can do. My argument is what it is in fact, regardless of what you think it is. Because I don't really have a problem with what you think it is. I just know that what you think it is not what it is. In fact.
No, I'm saying that we can't. Okay, let's take 5 people, or even 5 people from 5 different parts of the earth. One person, an African, might think God is a divine power wielding being. Someone else might think nature is God, and that's provable, right? Nature is everywhere.
No, nature cannot be proven to be God.
No, but you can't decide that because it's subjective.
No, I can decide that because I know what nature is.
No, you think God is. See, you are imposing your subjective understanding of God onto the other person.
I am imposing the standard definition of God, which is how we communicate by creating.
So English
standards.
is now the universal standard of God.
No, sir. English is a language system built on specific patterns associated with specific things that allow us to consistently use those things to communicate ideas. So if I want to properly utilize English, I must utilize it as grammatically structured so I can be... Hold up.
No, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
I have studied the grammatic structure of English. You have studied the grammatic structure of English. I can now use English as a tool to transmit the idea I have in my head into your head. And because you understand that grammatic structure, you can understand what I said exactly as I said. Because not just will you be able to hear me or understand me, but you'll be able to observe what I'm saying to see if it's consistent with how I've said it. Now, when you describe something in a way that is inconsistent with observation, it's more likely that something is wrong with you than that thing is what you say it is.
Okay.
All right. So we don't make those claims in the vacuum. God is defined standardly and utilized standardly within the religious context as the creator of the universe and the source of all moral authority. Okay. Within monotheistic religion, that's how God is defined. Now, somebody who clearly does not believe in that definition, but likes the word God, would redefine the word God to fit your subjective tendencies, yet they will not be able to demonstrate that their redefinition is in fact real. You know what reality is defined as? Reality is defined as the state of the world as it is, rather than conceptual or notional.
As it is, correct, yes. Okay.
Yes.
So now
we make a difference between what we think the world should be and what it in fact is. We have already found out through practice that we have the capacity to see the world as it is. Before we even begin defining it, we can see it as it is.
Correct. So now
we created language systems. Hold up.
Okay, yeah.
We have discovered that we as human beings, we can see the world as it is before we even begin to define it. We can totally see the sky and we can see what's up there. So we created language systems that allow us to consistently and accurately describe the world as it is. So
Okay.
that's a very important thing for you to consider as you make your point, bro. It's
So,
one thing
okay,
for
now.
me to see something as it is
Okay.
and then describe it as it is not. I am still wrong in my definition if my description is not consistent with what is observed. But you will know
Correct.
that I am right in my definition if what I have defined upon observation is consistent with my definition. That's how we grow. That's literally the logic at the core of language, without which there's no point for language. We can just walk around here making random noises, never really knowing what each other means. Right?
That
I
is
have a
correct.
subjective definition for every word that comes out of my mouth. How could I ever communicate with you?
That is correct. Okay, so now everything you said is 100% factual and correct, and I agree with you. Do you know where the issue now occurs? When you now step outside of that language or outside of that culture or outside of that society. Literally, that's literally what happened with colonialism. That's what colonialism is. A group of people go into a different part of the world that don't understand their language, their customs, their way of thinking, and then imposing their way of thinking, belief systems, everything upon them, and enacting God on. That's literally what they did. Taking the role of AKA God, and then say, okay, these people are stupid. What if those people don't have the same consensus or agreement of God as you
Benin,
do?
listen carefully.
No, but you can't. You can't. The moment you now say, "Oh, I speak English," so this is what God means in
Benin,
English.
Benin.
Let me just use one example.
No,
Just one example.
Benin.
The most provable.
Hold
Okay,
on,
the
hold
most
on. Let me
advanced.
point out an important fact that you're ignoring.
I haven't finished. I haven't.
I want to point out something that's going to help you out.
Okay, let me land. Let me land because I haven't
hold
finished
up.
the main point.
Hold up.
Because I already said half the point. Let me finish
Brother,
the point.
don't worry. What I'm saying.
Let's use the most. Let's use the most. Let's use
brother,
the most.
hold up, Benin. Come on.
Okay.
As you say what you say, don't forget that God is an English word. So we're talking about the English language here. Don't go to anywhere else which is not English.
Because
that's why you and I, though we come from Africa, we still have to learn English.
But that's literally, then that whole thing is flawed because you can't do that.
There's no flaw here if English is a language system that was created and actually does what language is supposed to do, which is allow
English,
us
right?
to communicate reality as observed.
Okay, English. Okay, even even just using English. If I talk to an Aborigine Australian that speaks English, his understanding of God is completely different to yours. So what are you going to do then? Impose your belief onto his? Or is he going to impose his onto yours? That's a problem already.
If the
or a native
Aborigine
Canadian
will use the word God, then the word God that he's using must be consistent with God as defined within the English language. If he has a different idea, which is contrary to how God is defined in the English language, he needs to coin a new word.
Okay, but you see,
right?
the problem, that's why I said the problem occurs when you now have classes of culture.
If I choose to use a hammer as a weapon to take another person's life, when in fact that hammer was not designed as a weapon to take another person's life.
But that's what I said at the beginning.
It still doesn't change the fact that the hammer is a hammer.
Correct. Now, you see, what I agreed with you. I said everything you said is factual within English. But then I asked you at the start, so is English the standard? Because, okay, for example, the most advanced
English is the standard language that you and I are using right now. If
no, is it the standard
language that we were equally as fluent in, we will have to use that language to communicate our ideas.
Correct. Okay. Is it the standard for across humanity, across lifetimes, across everything? Because we're not just speaking.
No.
Because what if you could be in a vacuum of total ignorance, and just because we have been colonized through English, we think this is correct until a civilization or another culture superimposes their beliefs on us.
Benin. That is why, though we develop multiple languages, we build a bridge between languages called translation. For example, let me give an example. I am fluent in French enough. I'm fluent in English enough. The word God in English has a standard meaning. When you translate that word God into French, you get the word Dieu. And with proper understanding of the French language, when you examine that standard meaning or definition of the word God in the French language, you can also translate the meaning. So you realize that French and English Though they're using two different words, they're communicating the exact same meaning. So for the person who's using French, if they observe what you are defining, they'll come to the exact same conclusion as the person who's using English. The problem only comes here when if the word in English has a complete different meaning than the word in French.
Correct.
And then when we observe the world, we see that what we're observing is consistent with the definition in French, but not in English. Then that means that the meaning in English does not sufficiently meet the criteria
I can use the languages you just used, for example, to prove how that's wrong. Or no, I'll show you. If, for example, when you say love in English, in Greek, how many ways are there of saying love? But if I in English only understand that one way of saying love. For example, there's agape, there's eros, there's different ways of saying love, and this is how people get actually confused through translation. So in Greek, when I say eros, it means a different type of love. But in English, I could just say love. I only have one way of saying love with that word. I can't say, oh, it's this. I can't define it with another. Do you get what I'm saying? Unless I expand that translation. But if I use the word love to explain 4 different words in Greek, that's how people get confused.
Now you're somebody said
no, because
Benin, hold up, listen.
It's actually very simple. This is actually how scholars you have to debate it like properly.
Benin, it is in fact simple. The problem here is not that there's different ways of saying love in Latin. The problem here is that the way love is communicated in English doesn't necessarily follow the same exact structure in Latin. But if you understand both languages, you will come to the same conclusion because there is a structure within the English language that still allows you to arrive at the same conclusion.
Okay, but my original point was you can't dictate. No, literally, you cannot dictate. Let's remove English. Let's say there was no language. How would you then convey what God is?
Thank you. Let's say that we had no form of communication, and I observed something.
Just to finish, and bear in mind, I have a different understanding of God. So then, how would you now make us understand? How would you make me understand?
Your understanding of God is not what makes God God. What makes God God is the reality of what God is. And you have a responsibility to understand God as he actually is rather than how you want him to be. And we would know that you understand God as he actually is when your understanding can actually be observed to be consistent with what God is upon observation. You see? So what validates the truth is the evidence, is the proof. It's not how the truth is communicated. It's not who is communicating the truth. It is when you take the truth and you compare it to the evidence upon which the truth is grounded. Does it produce consistent results? That's how you will know that it is valid. Right?
But that's what I said. So, okay, what about in societies where they can prove that God because they don't believe in the same God as the definition in English?
All right. If what they believe in is not the same as it is defined in English, then what they believe in is not God.
Huh?
If what they believe in doesn't carry the same meaning and definition as is in English, then what they believe in is not God. So they are making an error of using a word, the wrong word. They should find a word that is consistent with what they are trying to communicate.
Let's use the ancient Egyptians, for example, and let's even use God and the devil. They don't have a devil. They don't have everything in it. For example, they believe in math, which is balance. So they believed when someone was unbalanced, that was evil, or what we would call evil in English. But do you now see how that could cause confusion? They believe in balance and unbalance.
It will only cause confusion.
You could even prove stuff like that with mathematics.
It will only cause confusion to a person who is illiterate in the Egyptian language and illiterate in English. If you are a person who is literate, you will understand the different rules that govern the language systems. For example, let me give you a simple example, buddy.
Okay.
Roman numerals.
Uh-huh.
Is there a number 1 in the Roman numeral?
No, but you're actually proving my point. So if I was a Roman, I would think you're stupid because you think...
Benin, you're not understanding.
No, but no. How could you imagine when Rome was
Benin?
There is, but if you are using,
is there a number 2 in the Roman numerals?
No.
Yes, there is.
No, because if I'm Roman, I'm gonna think of it the way I think of it. I'll be like, I'm gonna say it in Latin, and I'll be looking at you like, oh, well, no, use your argument, but argue for a Roman.
Slow your brain down.
I am. I'm saying use the argument you made. Imagine if you were speaking Latin.
Down.
Oh my God,
You're
man.
conflating the symbols utilized to convey the idea with the idea itself. Two different
How
things.
is that different to what you're doing in English?
I'm going to educate you if you should listen.
I am listening, though. That's the thing.
Numerically, English doesn't have a number system. The number system utilized in English is Arabic numerals. But also within the English language, we've also adopted Roman numerals as it is appropriate.
I understand, yes, the equivalence. I'm not talking
you're not
about
understanding. Hold up.
Yes, okay, I is one or stuff like that. Yes, I get that. But I'm saying the concept, the understanding, and the way you are arguing. See the way you're defending English.
The concept is the same.
See the way you're defending English. If I did that in Latin,
the concept is the same. The symbols are different. It's the same concept. Exact same concept.
No, I'm saying the concept for which you argued God. Yes, I know I know what you're saying. When you say, okay, the concept is the same, the meaning is different. I get that. I'm saying the same way you just argued the understanding of God, right, in English. If I did that in Latin, when especially in the period when Latin was the consensus, and it is a different understanding. See if they believe, for example, what if if the Romans believed, the Romans is a perfect example. They had multiple gods.
They had this right here?
Okay, so the Romans had, yes.
Hold up,
I'm not talking about the numerals. You know I'm not talking about the numerals. I was trying to interject what you used when you said, man, I understand what you're saying.
I need for you to slow down.
I am slowed down.
Yourself. You're
I'm talking about God now.
You're lost in your own head.
I'm not. I just think I can grasp this very quickly. It's not hard.
Benin, stop talking and follow along, bro. I'm trying to teach you and you're just talking.
What are you teaching me?
I'm going to teach you basic logic and common sense, all right?
Okay.
This is very basic. What number is this?
1.
What number is this?
I'm believing that's 1. It's just because your camera's backwards for me.
Look at it very carefully.
Your thing is backwards.
This is 1, and this is also 1, right? You know what that tells you?
What do you mean?
That though these two symbols are different, they represent the exact same concepts.
Okay.
So if, for example, the African person says that this is God, and then they say that this is, and then they use this symbol of linguistic to say that, and then the Americans say that this is God. And then within reality, that concept can still be utilized consistently. Then they are communicating this exact same thing.
I know that.
Bro, hold up. Now, 1 represents one conceptually represents 1 unit for 1 object. Right? The same thing is here for 1. Now, if this Roman numeral was 1 really represents 10 objects, it will no longer be the same concept. So when the Roman says 1, I'll now be able to know that he means something different from when the Arabic says 1. Because when the Arabic says 1, it represents 1 object. When the Roman says 1, it represents 10 objects. Correct. Then I will know that it's 2 different concepts. So that's the problem. When the Arabic says God, and then the pagan says God, they're talking about 2 different things. It's not the same concept. But when the Muslim says God and the Christian says God, they're talking about the same concept. When the Muslim say Allah and the Christian says God, they're talking about the same concept, though they use 2 different words.
Correct.
So now, what I have to do is I have to learn Arabic. Then take the Arabic idea and observe reality. If what reality shows me is consistent with what Arabic is describing, then I will know that Arabic has properly defined and understood that reality. And now go to English and take the equivalent word and observe reality. If it produces the same results as I got in Arabic, then I know that English also sufficiently does it, regardless of what symbols English uses. But if I use the English concept and I come to a different conclusion, then one of them is mistaken, or we're no longer talking about the same thing. All right? So when somebody else says that what I mean by God is different from what you mean by God, we're no longer talking about God.
So So what happens in societies where,
We're
for example,
using the same word to define two different concepts, and those two different concepts themselves independently have two different realities. So what's real, what truly exists, is what the concept is not the two interpretation of the concept, because
which
they
one
are
is
contrary to
provable?
each other.
So in that case, what do you think happens then? If there are two different realities, what happens? Because that's literally what I'm trying to explain.
Then concept one must describe the reality it's talking about, and it must be observable to be consistent as described. Concept two
Correct.
would describe the reality it's talking about. It must be observable and consistent as defined. That's what I'm
Correct.
talking about. So check this out. Check this out.
That's literally what I've been trying to say. That, like, we went a whole circle, because I said it's subjective. You just proved it. You said they have two different realities, which is, again, why is it two different realities? Because it's subjective on their understanding of
It's
God.
two different realities because it's two different things. They can't both be right.
That's the point I was trying to make all along.
So listen. So when I said there is no God, I am correct based on how God is defined in English. If you now redefine God as something else, and you say there is God, what you might be talking about might exist, but you are wrong when you call it God, because God has already been defined, and you don't have the authority to define God within the English language, because the English language is already an established standard of communication, and the whole goal of the standard of communication is consistency. If there was, like I said, if there was a different meaning for every word that came out of my mouth, you and I would never be able to communicate. That is why standardization is quite important. If I choose to call a circle a square, and you choose to call a square a circle, we'll never be able to work on the same mathematics.
That's true. So okay,
though the circle is a real thing,
but you know, from initially, that's what I was trying to say. You first have to have it. But that's what I was trying to say initially. It's, again, that's still subjective. Okay, so Group A, they believe God is this, and they speak English. Group B, they believe God is this, and okay, Group A, they believe God is a supernatural being, whatever, and they say this is God, this is the consensus. Anything else, and you're stupid.
They still Group have B, the burden of proving that what they say it is in fact what it is. And if we examine what they say it is and it fails, then it doesn't exist.
Okay, so what about you know, even within Africa, there are people that are animists.
Bro, hold on, bro. No, bro. We're gonna keep going in circles. Regardless of what language you use to communicate whatever you want to communicate, if it cannot be observable to be consistent with what you have said it is, you are wrong. So it doesn't matter if it's African or Chinese or Native Americans or Europeans or
But you're just
Americans.
repeating a point. I'm saying, okay, what about those who do have a God that they can observe? It is observable, like nature.
If you have something
like nature, for example, that's what I'm trying to. That's what I've been trying to make. Okay.
Listen, do you know why you called it nature? Because it's not God, it's nature. So the idea of the concept of nature will properly define what you're saying, but the concept of God would not. So
no, because you're okay. But what if that's their reality? That's what they've agreed upon.
Again, listen carefully. You can agree upon it all you want to. It still doesn't change the standard. All right?
Why?
Because bro, listen.
Okay.
The fact that you feel compelled to call nature God shows that you have a problem with the definition of God, which is not defined as nature. So you're no longer talking about God. Because you've redefined the word to fit a specific bias, because you do not like the word nature. You should throw the word nature away and then just call what you are saying nature God, and then throw the old definition of God away. But God has already been defined as something specific. So what we are searching for is that specific thing that was defined as God. When we came to the understanding of nature, we were not looking for God. And we see that nature does not behave in the way that God is defined. So if you come from a different system and you want to talk about nature, look for a different word other than God. God is a person as defined.
Okay, so I actually don't have an issue with that. I see things, I agree with you. But then when you now study history, for example,
brother, they're telling me to drop you because I think you're not getting.
Because you see my point. If you're looking at history, up until certain civilizations that wanted to control people, like the Romans, the English, etc., a lot of people had a word for the word for God was within was a different word. For example, like you said, nature. Let me just use nature, for example. Or some was the sun, some was the moon. It's only when you started having certain civilizations, and this is intentional because you need to understand how they do this. The etymology of language, right? English is a language for programming people. So if I give you an understanding that God has to be something outside of nature and something you cannot prove, that do you not see how that works?
Brother, that is why I'm saying to you that the idea of God fundamentally
we are agreeing on the same thing. I don't believe in God. I'm agreeing with you.
Benin,
but I'm arguing for the people that think. Oh yeah, okay.
Hold up. They invented the idea of God out of a misunderstanding of nature. We realize God doesn't exist because we now understand nature. So the definition of God was born out of a misunderstanding. The concept of God is a misunderstanding. In of itself, it's not true. When you rectify that misunderstanding, you see what it truly is, which is not God, but nature. See, two different things. Two different things. So I can therefore say there is no God, but then I can say that nature exists. And if what you meant was nature, you should not disagree with me.
But then why? Okay, so let me not sound like it's emotional. Maybe this is better if I say it like this. Why is it then that people must have an understanding outside of things that are provable for it to be God? If I say tomorrow the universe is God, so everything in totality, right? And that's provable by mathematics, because remember you said everything has to be provable. Didn't you say that? Everything has to be provable or
universe
observable.
Cannot be God if the universe is the universe, because God is not defined as the universe.
No, you're not getting me. The totality of everything. Why does God have to be an external? Why can't it be internal?
God is not defined as the totality of everything. Unless it is the creator and the source of all moral authority, it's not God. And if it's the creator and the source of all moral authority, we should be able to observe it as so.
Why does that definition have to be God?
Because that's the standard definition for it that allows us to properly, that's the definition of the square that allows anyone who understands the concept of a square to identify a square. That's the GPS. So you don't have to be lost in the desert.
But isn't that
because you don't know which way is north? Listen, bro.
Okay.
It's like a person in the desert who doesn't know which way is north, and you feel like north will just be whatever direction you decide you want to head in. So if someone gives you instruction and say, hey, you want to find water in this desert, head north. So you decide that, okay, fine. North is whatever direction I feel like it is. And you start heading in a direction which is actually south. Would you ever find that water?
No, but
that's why there's a level. There's how do I put it?
The only issue I have is that why it's the definition of God.
Standard within linguistics. So we're not lost in the desert of communication. So you can point me exactly towards an idea using the right words. And I will only saying God has to be external based on my understanding of those words.
Okay, so you're saying God has to be external. It cannot be internal. So that's something that has to be agreed upon.
I'm saying to you that God as defined is a being that exists independently of the one who is thinking of that being. Regardless of God's other capabilities, God is still the creator of the universe. So before any of us existed, God was already himself as defined. So we need to be able to observe God being that independent being as defined. Whether God has the ability to put some of his power in us, or he has the ability to possess us, regardless of what else God can do, God still needs to be able to be observed as defined.
But wouldn't that be the problem? Because then if mathematically that's an unbalanced equation. Why? Because you're trying to, you're trying to prove God, but you don't believe in God. So you're trying to use a method to prove something you don't believe exists. So you have you're fixed on a standard to prove something that you don't believe exists. That's unbalanced. This is you can argue with theoretical physicists; they'll tell you the same thing.
No, sir. There's no imbalance there. You see, the problem that you're having here is if we were
No, listen to what I
about,
said.
hold
You are
up, hold
trying
up,
to
hold
prove
up,
something
hold up,
you don't
hold up,
believe
Benin.
exists
Benin,
a certain way.
Benin.
So you're literally, it's a logical fallacy. Like, you can't do
It
that.
does exist that certain way because that's what it was defined. That's why naturally you should not be defining things you haven't observed, because when you actually do observe that thing, if it doesn't meet your definition, then your definition was wrong. That's why typically we define things based on observation. And if our definition is not consistent with the observation, we are wrong. So check this out. Had we
But you
observed
don't believe
God,
it exists, so how can you observe it? You don't believe it exists in the first place. Are you listening to
no,
yourself?
because believing it exists is not what I need to define it. Seeing it as it exists, observing its existence is what I need in order to define it, not a belief.
So but then you're okay. Listen. I'm actually I'm trying to be on the same page with. I'm trying to be on the same page with you.
Benin.
Write it out. Write
I
it out
told
like
you
an
we're gonna go in
equation.
circles, okay? I can't do this with you, bro.
No. Write it out as an equation. Write it out as an equation.
Benin.
Yeah.
If I define something I have never observed simply based on what I believe, there's a high possibility that when I actually observe that thing, it will not be consistent with what I believe, and that means I'm wrong. If I observe something before I define it, and then I make sure that my definition is an exact description of what that thing is, then regardless of who else observes it, they will be able to see that that thing is consistent with my definition. God is something that was defined based on a misunderstanding of...
Okay, I'm not arguing, bro. I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm saying why is it then that you have to believe it's external? That's the problem. You will never find it if you think
it's not a belief that it is external. It is defined as external. So
which is the problem. So if somebody else defines it as eternal, they're not wrong. That's their belief. Or that's that definition.
If you define it as internal, you're now talking about something else.
As what?
That's what defining means.
So couldn't that? So maybe that's the problem with the actual thing in the first place. You're trying to find something with the wrong definition. What if the definition is wrong? You didn't start there.
So if I say that you're a man, there's a possibility that my definition could be wrong.
What do you mean?
So maybe you actually really have a vagina and you're a woman. So if somebody decides tomorrow that you're a woman, that makes you a woman, right?
Consensus can change all the time. That's what makes these things.
Listen, why do you have to believe that a man needs to have a penis? Why can't a man be someone that has a vagina?
Some people believe that. I don't believe that. Some people believe that.
Why don't you believe that? Are you saying they're wrong?
I'm not going to argue with them because that's their belief. If tomorrow they create a,
I don't care about that belief. I'm asking about the reality. I'm asking about the reality of it. What is it outside of what is it before you believed in it? What was it? What is it independent of your belief?
That's a man is a man and a woman is a woman, obviously.
A man has testicles with a pipe between them. A woman has a dark forest with a lot of tall trees. That's what
correct, but the definition is accurate there.
No, it's not just that the definition is accurate. The definition is consistent with what is being described. That's why even men who think that they are women, you will see them try to put on woman-like type behavior because they change themselves to become consistent with the definition rather than change the definition to be consistent with themselves because they understand that standard, which you are failing to understand. Which I don't really think you're failing to understand. I think you're just playing devil advocate.
I'm not. Okay, so what about a Buddhist? A Buddhist definition of God is different. An animist definition of God is different. An Aborigine definition of God is different. But you are trying to say...
A Buddhist definition of God is not God.
Why?
Whoever said
are you going to go to those countries and tell them they don't believe in God?
Whoever said that what the Buddhist was defining was God is wrong. Because if you ask the Buddhist what he was defining, he's not going to define it as what we know God to be. So you should ask the Buddhist,
just straight narcissism because you think you're right. Just because you speak English doesn't mean you're right. That's the problem I'm trying to argue.
It's not the English language that makes me right. It's the fact that what I am communicating in English is consistent with the thing that I'm talking about as observed. So regardless of which language you talk in, you're still going to come to the same conclusion as me. If you come to a different conclusion, then it's not a matter of language either. It's just a matter of misunderstanding. What's that so hard for you to get?
It's not hard. My mind is still strong. I know exactly what I'm talking about.
Listen. Regardless of how a Buddhist defines God, God is God based on what the first person who defined God to be God defined it as. Regardless of what an LGBT defines a man or a tranny defines a man will be a man based on what a man was originally defined.
Okay,
So
let me
that's
make
why
it.
they
Let
have
me
to
make it simple. Let me make it very simple. If I believe that God is the sun, yes, it's the sun, but isn't that the most powerful source of energy in the universe? It literally creates every single source of life. It's observable.
Thank you for your
It's
time, bro.
provable.
Benin, thank you for your
No, no,
time.
but you said it has to be observable and provable. It's
Nah, bro. I tried my best to enlighten you. I tried my best to enlighten you. I think you have some internal confusion. I think that some of your neurons might not be firing properly. It seems to me like the problem is not what we're talking about. The problem is the shit that's firing in your brain. Ladies and gentlemen, tap the screen, tap the screen, tap the screen, y'all. Tap the screen, share the live, share the live, share the live. What's going on, Coop?
Not much, man. Not much. Just listening to the debate and hoping that some people can actually have logical thinking. And I think it's out of the parameter of logical thinking. When people start thinking logically,
Forgive me, my brother, but do you agree or disagree with me?
oh, I agree. I fully agree with the context of what you're saying.
Well, then that means that we have no argument, brother. I am looking for disagreement.
There's no premise. There's no
Yeah.
premise or debate to argue about stuff. You just have to look at things logically. You
I
have
do
to first
appreciate you, my
consider
brother.
your parents. Most people don't consider. They don't reference their parents. If they start to understand who they are and
Brother
start to
Coop,
look at their parents, then they will have a complete conversation of reality and the universe.
Brother
You know.
Coop, I
Yes,
don't
sir.
mean to be rude, brother, but please, I am looking for disagreement, right? And I need to follow and abide by that structure of the show. I do appreciate you, though. And if you keep following me, you will catch me on days when I'm down to just have open conversations. All right? Thank you so much. If you had a
Thank you,
specific
brother.
disagreement, I would have liked to wrestle with you on that disagreement. But it seems
Oh
like
no, I
you
don't have any
understand these
disagreement.
principles.
Trust me. If I did, we would have been going back and forth. But I don't have any disagreement.
Then thank you, good brother.
Have a great day, brother.
You too.
Yeah.
Tap the screen, tap the screen, tap the screen, ladies and gentlemen, tap the screen. Hassan, be patient. I know you. I hope you better bring some better energy than yesterday. Send your request if and only if you disagree. There is no God, there never has been, there never would be. All right? There is no God, there never has been, there never would be. If you don't like it, you can cry about it. Crying is therapeutic. Crying is therapy. When you cry, make sure you test your tears. Make sure it's salty. Because if your tears are not salty, that means you already died a long time ago and you haven't even figured it out. What's going on, man?
Hey Bakanga, I disagree with you, but I'm not here to do that. But I just want to know, cause I'm in the comment section, right? What do we have to send you? Like, what kind of gift do we have to send if we're tired of somebody that you trying to talk to that we're not getting anything from? Cause I type it on the comment section, asking if I need to send you money, gun, or whatever. Just give us hint. What do we need? Yeah, I need to know. Cause sometimes like we can talk to you, but we just
You
need
know
to know
what,
what do we
bro?
need to
In
do.
reality, you don't need to send me anything in reality for me to do that. I just need to discipline myself and do a better job at listening to my audience. That is something that I am very poor at doing. And you are correct. We are here for the audience, and the audience are also thinkers. So sometimes I get caught in the loop. But sending a gift to get my attention, I think that that's a good thing. If you want to send a gift, feel free to send a gift at any time. But thank you so much for pointing that out. I do need to get better at
Thank you.
and
Thank you,
cutting
Mr. Bakanga.
conversation
I'll go
short.
down.
Yeah, you can send a gift on Cash App. You can send me your next paycheck, whatever you want. I totally accept it. But as far as me being able to take people down, that's something that I need to be self-disciplined about. I shouldn't have to be rewarded to do what I'm supposed to do. So thank you so much for pointing that out. I appreciate that. And I apologize to the audience because I have my own curiosity, guys, believe it or not. But we're in this together, right? And the way TikTok is set up, I have to be able to listen to the audience. So yeah, if you guys don't want someone Just type drop. If you guys just spam the comment section with drop, I'll drop them. I'll try my best. Right? I'll try my best. It's painful to listen. It is. I'm the kind of person that I think that if I just wrestle with them, I'll get them to get it. But sometimes you just gotta give up on stupid.
Dude, your level of patience needs to be studied. Holy smokes,
bro! It's because I don't know if it's patient. It's an obsession with fixing people's brains.
Yeah, but that's not the thing. But you also keep the consistency of speaking, which is wild. But hear me out. Yesterday was wild, but I think
I like today's a song.
Yeah, of course. I mean, essentially, I would just argue that believing in God's just a logical way of thinking. And reason why I say that is because, and I'm going to prove it today and the funny thing is, if you still wouldn't believe me, I'm going to show you why you truly don't believe that yourself. And how I'm going to do that is by asking you a simple set of questions. And initially, I said that it's logical to believe in God because on this planet Earth, Bakanga, how many species of animals exist? Do you know?
Innumerable.
Right, like hundreds and thousands of species of animals. Now, name one species of animals that exist on this planet Earth that are spiritual beings. When I say spiritual, what I mean is by that those that believes in God. How many animals on this earth believes in God?
One.
Right. So now that's the uniqueness and specialty of human beings, right? We, out of all the species of animals on this planet Earth, have the understanding of what created us, what the Holy Spirit allows us. The Holy Spirit within us that allows us to deem close with our Creator, unlike any other species of animals.
Or could it just be a flaw that's unique to humans that makes us fundamentally misunderstand the world and jump to conclusions by personifying our characteristics onto things that we haven't seen or observed? Have you considered the possibility that perhaps that's the reason why we're the only ones that believe in God? Because it's actually a problem with our brain?
You would have to demonstrate what the...
I can demonstrate that all ideas of gods as we perpetuate them are not necessarily observed to be so.
Well,
whereas when we follow the scientific fact, we then find ourselves drawing realistic conclusions.
Okay, really quickly, you just got dropped the money gun. I'll come back tomorrow.
Hold up, did they say to drop you? Thank you for the money gun, whoever sent that. I appreciate you from the buttocks of my heart. 1 second, guys. From the innermost part of my heart. Thank you, guys. I feel like you guys don't reward me enough for my hard work. Holy son of a goat. Holy son of a goat. What the heck just happened here? Ay, 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 ay. Man, stock market is crazy as hell. You know, I'm going back to TikTok. Where was the money guns when you needed them, people? Humans are the only animals that can think of abstract concepts. Those must be true. We don't know if that's true. We don't know if humans are the only animals that can think of abstract concepts, because you would have to be another type of animal to know what that type of animal is capable of. I highly suspect that gorillas and chimpanzees do think about these things. They just don't think about it to the point where they feel like they need to do something about it. You see, if we were gorillas, we would know what gorillas think. We can only know what gorillas think externally, but internally, it's really hard to know what's going on in the head of a goddamn gorilla. Hey, when you put a lion in the cage and that lion is hungry and it's growling Are you able to deduce what that lion is thinking? When you have a hungry tiger in the cage and that tiger is just looking at you and rolling his tongue, are you able to guess what that tiger is thinking? That tiger is abstractly thinking of you as food. So yeah, we cannot speculate unnecessarily what other entities are thinking of because they have brains. All right? Think about it. If you're going to say that animals don't think about these things simply because they don't do anything about it, it's like you saying that African people are incapable of thinking of science because we are not necessarily involved in science. There's a difference between being able to think about something to the point where you want to do something about it and then think about something and then not being able to think about it at all. The fact that African people only think about religion, is it because they can't think of science? Certainly not. All right? The fact that African people are technologically inferior to the rest of the world, is it because African people are dumb? No. Hassan, why did you leave in the first place? I don't think they wanted you to leave.
I got some people saying to request since there was no one in the guest request, so I did so.
It's
Bakanga,
fine. I could have monologued along. And
I know.
Usually when there's no guest, it gives me a chance to respond to the comments.
I'm not doubting that, but this is the thing though. You know, actions are what you said once yourself is what demonstrates of what our true thoughts are. One can just say something all day long and he doesn't choose to act upon it, then does he truly believe in it? Now, there's a particular reason why humans engages in rituals. There's a reason why we engage in worshiping. It's because that's what we truly believe, right? Which is what the reason. Thank you, Purpose. I appreciate that. But that money gun on me was crazy. But yeah, it is the case that we don't view animals in the wild engaging in these actions. It's inductively what's it called? Inductively, we can assume that they don't believe in deities, right? And let me just ask you the question straightforward. Do you not believe humans are superior to animals?
No.
Okay, let me disprove that statement right now. Because, so you believe all animals on this planet Earth are equal, correct?
No.
Oh, that's a contradiction. I'll ask you the question again. Do you believe humans are superior to other animals? Yes or no?
No.
Okay, so then therefore you believe that all animals are equal, correct?
No.
How's that? Okay, it's a true dichotomy. What's the third option here?
That humans are the most inferior animals in this world.
Okay. You know how, wait, well, I have a question. You know why I don't believe that you truly believe that?
No, I don't think you understand.
No, let me tell you why.
Think. That's what I truly think.
You don't. And let me tell you why you don't think that way. If I started breeding human babies in factory farms to consume them, would you have a problem with that? Yes or no?
If you start breeding human babies?
No, breeding, bred human babies in factory farms to consume them. Would you have an issue with that? Yes or no?
Yes. Okay.
Do you have an issue with us breeding cows in factory farms? Yes or no?
Yes.
Are you a vegan?
No.
Okay. So do you have an issue? Okay, let me ask you this question. Would you have an issue of us consuming other humans?
Yes.
Like slaughtering them, okay? Do you have an issue of us slaughtering other animals?
Yes.
Why are you not vegan then?
Because I understand why we slaughter those animals. It doesn't justify it though.
Oh, okay, then I can't argue with you. At least you're intellectually honest. Very interesting.
What are you talking about, bro? I'm an honest person. I think that that the peak of human intelligence will be a world where we can preserve and protect all forms of life, where all forms of life could thrive. That's why I think science and GMOs and artificial nutrition is actually a good thing for us and for all forms of life. I think that we should continue down the path of investigating how we can extract nutrients and spare the different animals or life forms that we extract those nutrients from. And we might not be able to do that now, obviously, because, our level of intelligence is not that high. But in the future, I should be able to go to the rocks, take a few elements, combine them together in a form that can give me all the nutrition I need for a whole week. So much that it gives me all my proteins, all my carbs, all my vitamins, you know, and I shouldn't need to eat fish or vegetables. Now, that's the hope, that's the desire, that's the goal. Ultimately, all our hard work has to lead us in that direction. If not, there's no point in us continuing to try to be intelligent.
Understood. Bakanga, how tall are you?
6 foot,
Nice. Okay, I'm 6'2". What color is your eyes?
brown,
Okay, and what color is your hair?
black.
Same for me, right? Okay, so you have black hair, you have brown eyes, and you're 6 feet tall. Do you know what genetically modifying is, G?
As in plants, animals,
No, for
humans.
human genetic modification.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what that is.
What is it?
To where we can edit DNA or RNA.
Correct. You can choose
RNA.
what traits that your child is going to have, correct?
Yeah, DNA and RNA editing.
That's what genetic modification is. Okay, good. So there are going to be people making that intentive choice that they want their children with blonde hair, blue eyes, 6 feet tall. You are also 6 feet tall. You have a particular color of your hair and your eyes. Who chose it to be the case? Who set your genomes a particular way where their codes are functioning in a way that made you 6 feet tall?
No one chose it. It's just a natural consequence. I'll give you an example.
Wait, like you say, hold up.
Give you an example.
Hold up, Bakanga. Hold
Let
up.
me
Slow
give you
down your
an
brain.
example.
Wait,
Let
slow
me
down.
give you
Okay, go ahead.
an example.
I'm gonna tell you something right after you're done.
When rain falls, the water naturally accumulates and follows the path of least resistance. But as a human being, I can interrupt that natural process and redirect the direction of the river by digging a path for the river to take before the rain falls. It doesn't now automatically means that the original path that the river was following did not happen naturally, that somebody dug it. My natural traits that I get, it's like the natural river that is formed when the rain falls.
I don't think it's
naturally.
analogous, but this is the case that I want you to indulge in. It is the case that, you know, when we were talking about genetically modifying babies with particular traits that a mother can choose for their child to have, with having green eyes, again, dark hair, and being 5 foot, like 5'5". She don't want her daughter to be taller than 5'5". If she's making that intentive choice with genetically modifying by setting those codes in a particular way where that would be the outcome, and we see an outcome on you being 6 feet tall, having black hair, look and having a particular face structure that you have, why is it that you don't then believe that that was also an intentive choice? Why your ATCGs are coded the way that they are? It's a code. You're coded.
Listen, you're not listening. You can't understand. Let me tell you again. When we splice RNA and DNA, it's not so different when we create a dam or dig or dig a path for rainwater to follow. If we were to allow that to happen naturally, the water will create a path for itself, except it will not be what we want. So if you allow human fertilization and reproduction to happen naturally, it's going to produce a certain eye color, a certain hair color, a certain height, but it might not be what
who's dictating that?
Natural circumstances.
But that's the thing. Someone can the same thing goes with genetically modifying a child. Which not
genetics are like that natural rain that paves its own path.
Something caused the rain as well, though.
The water will still flow.
No, but there was a process, right? There's a natural phenomena of there's a cycle that causes the rain.
And that cycle is completely void of any specific intent. That's why usually the only reason why we're even interrupting in the first place is because we're not going against anybody's specific intent. We're just taking something which is already neutrally there to give it the shape and the form that will
then
be
what caused your
cosmetically
coding, though?
pleasant to us.
Because science can demonstrate what caused rain by a phenomena, a process. That's what
Science
I'm
can
asking
also
you.
demonstrate what causes eye colors
Yeah,
by a
but
process.
you didn't answer my question. The same way science demonstrates what causes rain, science can demonstrate what caused the genetic modification of a human intentionally choosing those particular traits. What caused Bakanga's coding the way it is? What caused it?
What causes the genetic modification is humans. We
Yeah, I know.
genetically
That's when we're
modify.
choosing the traits. But what caused your traits?
What causes my brown eyes
Yeah.
is just natural chromosomes and DNA.
This doesn't sound intuitively right to me. It just
It is right.
How is it answering the question?
Hassan, I don't know what game you're playing, but this subject isn't actually as complex as you make it seem. I think you know what you're doing.
I think I'm cooking.
Simply because we can modify something doesn't imply that it's not naturally occurring.
Obviously, but I'm telling you the cause behind it. I'm asking you the cause behind you.
Yeah, the cause
What caused
behind
your
me.
coding?
My coding is not caused by
But
someone.
everything else has a cause?
It's not caused by someone. It's a natural consequence of my father having sex with my mother and
Why
the
is it a
unique
consequence?
constitution of sperm and how sperm reacts when it meets egg.
Yeah, do you know that your sperm cell won the race over millions of other sperm cells that caused
It was
you to be the
never
case?
a race
It was.
because the outcome was inconsequential based on which sperm hits.
Wait, but you do understand that if there was a different sperm cell, the one that actually penetrated through our mother's ovaries, it would have been the case that someone else would have been born?
Yeah, it would be someone else simply because. Hold up.
That's so beautiful.
It would have been someone else simply because the unique constitution of that specific sperm would have taken a unique shape and form, leading to a unique experience and a unique identity.
Well, again, it was a pleasure. But again, we do need to understand that we need to respect your money guns. And I am keeping track of the chat. So salutes. I'm going to turn my camera on, by the way, too. So it'll be more, interactive. So, but I appreciate you, Bakanga. What?
Hassan.
What's up?
You're a funny guy. Have a good one, man.
Yeah.
Feel free to come back up if you need another.
I will. I sure will. Take care.
God damn. There is no God. There never has been. There never would be. If you don't like it, cry about it. I don't give a fuck. I'm only here to tell you the truth. You can cry about it. Yeah, Jesus doesn't exist. Jesus cannot save you. You're not a sinner. The Bible is full of fictitious stories. Period. You think I'm going to stop? You're not ready for me. You're going to have to stop me. We're going to repeat this narrative as many times as you guys have repeated that Jesus loves you. If we were holding people accountable for how many times they repeat their narratives, God has never existed. You're just not ready to listen for it because you are emotionally vulnerable. You're emotionally fragile. You don't like the real world. The real world scares you. That's right. Whoever you are right now, I know you're looking right at my face right now. Keep looking. You see my face? God does not exist. You don't want to hear it? Keep scrolling. God actually doesn't exist. God's not real. God is an imaginary character that you conjured up in your head. That's why when you close your mouth, God becomes irrelevant. The subject of God is only relevant when we human beings open our mouth. In the beginning, human beings created the gods in their image. In the beginning, human beings created the gods in their image. This is the truth. This is the gospel. This is your salvation. That you should know that it was human beings who created the gods and goddesses in their image.
Do you have any proof for that?
Show me any God, and I will show you what man made that God.
Where is your proof that any man made God?
The fact that gods are irrelevant without the validation of man.
That is not proof.
That is proof enough.
That is no, it's not. No, it is not proof because of your own
Show
thought
me
process.
anywhere where a God, a
real.
deity, or goddess is relevant without the validation of a human being.
Jesus Christ is relevant to all of the world.
Because
the Bible speaks
so.
on every nation.
Because a bunch of human beings wrote it. Because the white man says so. Let's just say it like that.
No. These were not white men. These were Middle Eastern men. Get that right.
Again.
For two,
hold up. If this were Middle Eastern man, why is his name not Middle Eastern?
What are you talking about?
The name Jesus is not a Middle Eastern name.
No. I'm gonna pray. I'm gonna pray that you open your mind, big dog. I'm gonna pray that you try to gain some intelligence because you are not speaking with any form of logic.
The name Jesus is a Greek name.
Congratulations.
The name Jesus is a Greek name, not Middle Eastern.
He was a man
and
that
Greeks
was born
are whites.
in the Middle East. He was born in the Middle East. The Jewish descent from those times were much darker than they are now.
But that's not what reality
tens of
says.
thousands of people have said. That's what history has said.
Who has said?
All of history.
How many thousands of people?
Hundreds of thousands.
I rest my case. Checkmate.
What in the beginning, that more people are speaking that God is real?
In the beginning, man created God. The people who wrote the story made Jesus God. Jesus will not be God if the people who made the stories did not say that he was God.
They did not make stories. They were writing their current events. They were
not writing current events. That they were and everybody knows that the 4 Gospels were originally written anonymously.
The false Gospels, yeah, all but the Bible.
The 4 Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, where we get the totality, in-depth explanation of Jesus' life, were not written by the names of the people to whom the books were attributed. That is an indisputable fact, even within Christendom.
It was not published by them. It was
not written by them.
It was written by them, not published.
Then how come Matthew was written after Matthew was dead?
Because it was published.
How come Matthew, bro, there was no such thing as publishing back then? Look at you.
There was. No, there was.
There was no such thing as publishing back then?
There was intelligent people that would read over things to publicize.
Ain't no way. You think we stupid? Hey, we ain't no publishing houses back there, publishing shit like that.
You're right. You don't publish a house, but you do a rough draft and a final draft, right? Most people throughout all of history have tried something, realized it wasn't the best extent, and then tried something again and then made it better. It's just like that.
Bruh. None of the 4 Gospels were actually written by Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They were later on attributed by church fathers to give those books apostolic authority. Everybody knows that. Seems like you don't.
That does not give proof.
That's proof enough that it was
invented. It's not. Proof enough. That's like me saying, okay, the sky... No. That's like me saying the sky is blue. No, that's like me saying the sky is blue and God said it was blue. That's enough proof that God is real. Right? That's exactly the same thing you were saying.
You have to justify how God is real enough to say that the sky is blue.
What are you talking about?
Sky is blue because we can observe it to be blue.
Okay, so somebody said it. If God was to say it was blue, that just automatically means he's real, right?
Well, shit, if God could say it and no human being said it, then we would know God's real because God said it. And we saw God say it. We heard God say it. And like I said, all gods were created by human beings. Show me a God, and I will tell you what man created that God. The God that you worship as Jesus is a product of hundreds of years of European editing of a fictitious character. They gave you a linguistic image of that character, and they gave you a visual image of that character.
So what about the Ethiopian? What about the Ethiopian?
It's a white
Bible?
man.
What about the Ethiopian Bible? Those are all white men? Those are all white men.
Christianity was a competing narrative in that day and time, equally as fictitious.
Oh, so but I thought it was the white men. You're sitting here claiming it's the white men, but
Yeah,
Ethiopians
because
have
the
the same
Christianity
beliefs.
that dominates the world today, that determines the parameters of Christianity, is not Ethiopian Christianity. Do you practice Ethiopian Christianity?
I'm not talking about Christianity, big dog. I'm talking about God. I'm talking about Jesus Christ.
Jesus
That's
Christ. In fact, Jesus Christ is not an Ethiopian name.
Congratulations, the Ethiopians still worship him. They still
don't
have a
worship
book
Jesus
and worship
Christ.
him. They don't?
Well, what do they call him?
Yeshua. They have many
Yeshua
names.
is not an Ethiopian either.
Congratulations. The name doesn't need to be. It's not an American name either. The fuck?
It's a Greek name. And we know that the Greeks were...
And it's not American either. What are you getting at?
Hold up. We know that Jesus is the son of Zeus. We know that Jesus is the son of Zeus. We know that Zeus is God the Father. We know that Zeus is God the Father.
With what proof?
We know that Zeus is the creator of humanity based on what the Greeks said.
Yeah, no.
That's why the Greeks invented that God. Then the Romans came on later and borrowed that Greek character with those Greek qualities, added in some qualities from some other mythological characters like Osiris and Odin and Horus,
your obsession with the
to
Greeks
create
is,
this
big dog,
fictitious character called Jesus.
I hope you keep blaming the white man for all of your thoughts in your life.
I'm not blaming the white man. I'm just giving credit where credit is due.
No, you did.
I
many
think that
times.
the white man did a fascinating job. I think the white man did a fantastic intellectual job creating a fictitious character, and then they created a very mighty empire that had the capacity to impose their fictitious creations upon the rest of the world. That is worthy of praise, my friend. That's an accomplishment right there.
That is crazy. So you praise man.
I praise the white man for his ability to show that he has the power to invent bullshit and sell it to the world, and nobody will complain about it.
No black man's ever invented anything?
We've invented a lot of shit, but we've never promoted it and forced it on the world like the white man.
Who promoted slavery?
White man, listen, let me tell you something. A stupid person cannot do what the white man did with Christianity. White man is a very intelligent man.
They ain't no intelligent than anybody else.
They might not be, but when it comes to what they do, they have proven to be better than everybody else.
What do they do that nobody else does?
They are professional colonizers. Nobody can colonize
No. That is human nature.
Nobody can colonize like the Europeans.
That is human
Europeans
nature.
have won the global prize of colonization.
That's human nature. That is the human nature to have everything you can possibly attain.
When it comes to that specific human nature, they are better than everybody else.
Yes, everybody wants to be better for the most part.
All I'm saying to you is that I am not saying that the white man invented Christianity as a demeaning factor. I'm simply pointing out the obvious. And of course, we can see the product of their civilization. Listen, let me tell you something, okay? Though it wasn't 100% white brains that invented a lot of the technology we see in the world. White people, pretty much the influence they gained when they came out of Europe, they are the managers of this civilization. It's not perfect, but it's sure as hell great. It's sure as hell great. They did a lot of fucked up things, but hey, they still accomplished something that historically we should still give them credit. Now, it is up to the Chinese what they want to do, the whole world is watching. It's now up to the blacks what they want to do, the whole world is watching. So when the black man decides to create something and share with the world, it's up to him. He can be blaming what nobody else did. That's why we as black people, we ought to take responsibility for our shortcomings without having to step on somebody else. Just like white people should take responsibility for their shortcomings without having to blame anybody else. But it doesn't take away from what you achieved. Even if you achieved it by scamming, lying, stealing, killing, and destroying while using your brain. There's a lot of white people that condemn a lot of what white ancestors did. I know a lot of white people who fought against slavery.
On your delusional rant, big dog, but I'll pray for you and I hope you have a good day.
Brother, I appreciate your kind intentions to pray for me, but I'm sure to let you know that I know that prayers don't work, and that's just an escapist tactic. The moment a Christian say they are going to pray for you, that means they have given up on you. The moment a Christian says, oh, I'm going to pray for you, that means they're like, yeah, this motherfucker doomed. I'm just going to tell him what he wants to hear at this point, and I'm gone. The moment a Christian say they're going to pray for you, that means they have given up on helping you. Because they don't even get what they pray for themselves. You think they truly believe that they can pray for you and you're going to get what they prayed for? Do you know why if God was answering prayers, Christians will not be praying every day? You only pray every day because you're still praying for that same thing you were praying for 20 years ago. So I appreciate your good intentions, but I still know you're trying to scam me. There is no God. There never has been and there never will be. In the beginning, man created God in his image, and woman created goddess in her image. If you don't like it, cry about it. What's up, Melanie? Melanie? I'm telling y'all, if somebody shows up on this planet tomorrow and say they are God, we better be ready to fight. First thing we have to do is capture that motherfucker. Listen to me. If anyone shows up on this planet tomorrow and claims to be a God, the first thing we do is incarcerate them. We catch them, put handcuffs around their hand and interrogate them. And then when we can confirm that they are non-hostile, we can let them enjoy the earth like us. We can even give them a wife. That's right. We'll give them a wife, give them some land, welcome them to the earth as an alien. Because guess what? If you ain't from the earth, you are a fucking alien. We don't care what title you carry. We don't care how powerful you are. If you are not terrestrial, you are an alien. And if you're going to come into our house, we don't give a fuck who you is. You're going to follow our rules. That's why all of y'all religiously indoctrinated humans, y'all got to get up from your delusion and start thinking like I think, because we got to stay united and ready. Do you understand? This is not negotiable. I am telling you as it's supposed to be, as it's going to be. So if you don't like the one world order, guess what? Go find a cave and put your ass in it. Don't nobody need you anyways. We dream of a day when we can have a one world government, one world language, one world science, one world compassion and kindness and love for one another. That's our goal. We would rather be united. So take your God-loving heaven wanting to go ass out of here. If you love heaven so much, what are you waiting for? What are y'all still doing here? If y'all love heaven so much, what are you still doing on earth? Why is it that every time Mother Nature gives you a chance to go to heaven, you take your ass to the hospital? If you truly believe you must die to go to heaven, why do you look for a doctor when you are sick? Is it possible you love this life on earth more than the heaven you so badly want to go to? Is it possible that you doubt the existence of your heaven? Is it possible that you really don't believe? That's why your ass is scared to die. Because dying ain't the problem. Mother Nature sure as hell's gonna help you if that's where you gotta go. Even your goddamn pastor that claimed that he got superpower, we just caught his ass getting surgery over there in Turkey. Even your pastor that got superpower, we just got him over there in Turkey getting hair transplant because he don't like his hairline. You know how y'all Christians say, oh, I am made in God's image? Why you put on makeup if you made in God's image? You think God made an ugly motherfucker? And Christian women, I am speaking to you right now. You are beautifully and wonderfully made, are you not? So why are you trying to enhance what God beautifully and wonderfully made? Why you got a BBL? You think God didn't put enough fat in your bum bum? You don't really believe. You hypocrites. That's why you go to church on Sunday with 10,000 pounds of makeup on, because you don't want nobody to see your ass like you really look. Everything about you is a makeup. Your behavior is a makeup. Your name is a makeup. Your character is a makeup. There is nobody in your life that really know what you look like. Shit, you probably wear makeup to go to sleep. Shit, you wear makeup to take a shower. And yet you're going to come out here and talk about, I am beautifully and wonderfully made in the image of God. Is your God ugly or what? You must believe your God is ugly. That's why you keep... Listen, those of us who don't believe in God, we already know that nature be fucked up like that. You know? Nature be giving some of us receding hairlines. Well, fuck you, nature. We're going to use science to fight against you because we don't believe in no God. Nature be making some of us midgets. Nature gives some of us cancer. Those of us who don't believe in God, we got beef with nature. So yeah, of course, we're going to put on makeup. The lady's going to put on makeup. They're trying to make that fuck up. Makeup, you know, it's not always a fuck up anyways. Point is, we ain't claiming that some God made us perfect. You Christian woman, why the fuck you got that wig on? You don't like the hair God gave you? Why you trying to hide God's creation? You ashamed? Y'all lucky. You guys are fortunate. You guys are fortunate that you're my fellow human beings and I love you all. Yeah? Urameshi.
Hello?
Urameshi.
Urameshi. How's it going, Bakanga?
Fantastic.
It's an honor to speak to you, bro. Really appreciate it.
Hell yeah, Emoji. You have a legal, natural right to wear your makeup on however you want to. You can wear 20 tons of makeup. You ain't got no problem. You ain't got no God to wrestle with. And we're not saying y'all Christian women don't look good in makeup. Trust me. When y'all put on that makeup, y'all be looking like some queens. What we are criticizing is the goddamn hypocrisy. Alright? When I go to church on Sunday and I see your makeup wearing ass with your short blouse, twerking ass, I have a good appreciation for your femininity. Don't stop now. I ain't telling you to stop. I'm just telling you you're a hypocrite. Half of y'all's pastor can't preach no more because all them sisters in church right now, they coming out with them short skirt. It's like who can wear more tight clothes? Like, bruh, what is this? A holy club? Is this a holy shrine of a day club? What is this, clubbing 2.0? They got Christian everything. They got Christian rap, Christian music, Christian sex, Christian porn, Christian everything now. When Christians want to do something, they just put the word Christian in front of it. And it automatically becomes holy. Christian everything. And y'all think we don't see you. We see you now. And we are very entertained. We're just letting you know that we see you. That's why y'all's pastors out there doing Christian therapy one-on-one with y'all's wives. That's why you wonder why your wife couldn't get pregnant, but after a prayer session, she got pregnant. You ever consider the fact that she got fucked by the pastor and it wasn't the Holy Spirit? My dear religious African man, because there's a lot of African men out there. You're raising your pastor's son, raising your pastor's daughter, and you don't even know it. The doctor said you cannot get your wife pregnant because you got low sperm count. So you send your wife over there to a prophet so she can be prayed for. And 2 weeks later, she was pregnant. Have you never been curious what happened during the prayer session? Because I'm telling you, the Holy Spirit came in her. But it ain't the Holy Spirit you're thinking of. You don't believe me? Go do a DNA test. You're going to find out. You want to know who the Holy Spirit is? Do a DNA test on your kid. You ever wonder why your son looks so much like your pastor? The problem promise I'm not actually lying, guys. I'm not even tripping. This is the reality of some people's lives. Obviously, it's not all pastors. But there's an unrestricted gang of so-called pastors out there doing exactly what I'm saying. That's a problem. Anyways, Urameshi, what you got for me, bro? Go straight to your point.
No, I don't got nothing to say. I just said it was an honor to speak to you. You know, just keep doing
Well,
what you're
damn,
doing.
brother. Same here, man. I appreciate you, man. Looks like you got no
I
opposition.
always wanted to ask, when you gonna start that black on black reconciliation? You know,
Ooh.
I've been waiting on that for a minute. You know,
Keep on
you
waiting.
you gotta work on it.
If I don't start it, you ought to start it. But don't worry, bro.
Right.
No.
Right.
Listen. Life, unfortunately, brings a lot of unpredictable circumstances. And this year, I thought about it, but circumstances didn't let me. Next year, I'm gonna try again. But I really do want to do it in a way that I send out official invitations, right? Maybe I'm setting too much of a high standard for it. But ultimately, it's not something for prestige. It's just a mission that needs to be accomplished at some point in my lifetime.
Yeah.
The earlier, the better.
Right.
The earlier, the better. But 2026, I am currently working on a nice structured plan. I got things I want to start before I even get there. By the time we get to September, it should be a natural conclusion. I think we should already be like assembling.
Right during the World Cup.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of businesses that have been disrupted by technology, but nobody has yet disrupted church business.
Right.
I want to disrupt church business. You know what disruption is? Think of Uber. Uber came and disrupted taxis.
Yo, I'm doing the same thing right now too.
Airplanes came
As
and
we
disrupted
speak.
trains.
It's crazy. As we speak, I'm doing Uber. That's crazy.
And Bakanga came and disrupted church.
Yeah.
That's the vision.
Yeah, that's crazy.
We need to create an environment where we can gather together, not in the name of gods, but in the name of humanity. And we can still share our feelings and our emotions and share lessons and sing and dance music in the honor, in the praise and worship of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be surprised tomorrow if you see something called the Church of Bakanga.
Right.
But except, let me think of a song. Instead of singing, Yeshua, we're going to sing, Tinubu, Tinu. If you're Nigerian. If you're Cameroonian, you go, Paul Biya. If you're American, you're going to go, Donald Trump. That's only if we can't find better people to sing about.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure we can find better people than those corrupt politicians, right? There's better people in society that we can sing about rather than those corrupt politicians. But those corrupt politicians are smartly corrupt. Hey, Nigerians, stop talking shit about your grandfather, Tinubu. That's a great man. Tinubu is a very great man. Anyways, Urameshi, my brother, you stay blessed, man. And keep watching, keep following Bakanga, and stay free, my brother. Keep your hustle. Keep on hustling.
I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. Satan come out for Roto. I carry machine gun. My motor no get brakes. If I jam you, you go die. Only Nigerians know this one. Or Africans. Hey, the songs we used to sing as Christians. Man, I'm telling y'all don't even know. Satan come out for Roto. I carry Holy Ghost. My motor no get brakes. If I jam you, you go die. The number of times that Africans have killed Satan, it makes me wonder why there is still evil in the world. The amount of time that some African pastor somewhere has assassinated the devil, it makes me wonder why there is still evil in the world. African Christianity is the most toxic of all of them. I can assure you. African Christianity is the most toxic of all of them. It is worse than Jehovah's Witness. Anybody who is rebuking me in Jesus' name, God will punish you. Anybody out there right now rebuking me in Jesus' name, God will punish you. Satya,
Bakanga, what's up, my friend?
what's up? What's cooking?
Not much, man. I see you cooking.
What you got for me today, brother man?
Nothing, man.
As always.
As always, yeah. I'm sick.
That's right.
I'm chilling.
All right, man. I ain't tripping. Let me see who else is here. African Christianity is so messed up. You literally have pastors that put water in little bags and sell it to people as holy water, bro. They put olive oil in little containers and sell it to people, and people buy it, believing that it's holy oil.
I mean, to be fair, that happens in the U.S. too. I don't think African.
Not at the magnitude of in Africa,
to the same
bro.
extent. Yeah, maybe not.
Hey, my man Bakanga.
What's cooking?
I'm good, champion. What's up?
As you can see, what you got for me, brother man?
Yeah, I mean, you still don't believe in God, yeah?
Were you expecting me to start believing in God?
Not quite. I mean, I know it's something difficult to change such a radical position, but I mean, I was hoping by now you should be willing to accumulate in your thoughts this possibility,
You thought you would have
I would accommodate in my thought the possibility that God exists. The day you accumulate in your thought the possibility that you are really a woman with a vagina.
That's preposterous, though. Like, why would you be?
Yeah, it's preposterous for you to tell me to consider the possibility that a fictitious character exists. Why would I do that? I already understand it as a fictional character.
Yeah, but I mean, you're supposedly a critical thinker, right?
Duh.
You are, right? I mean, if I should understand you more properly, you should be you should be a critical thinker. You should, wrestle with existential thoughts and maybe metaphysical ideas. It's not like
I don't wrestle with existential thoughts. I flow.
How about metaphysical ideas? Or maybe
metaphysical ideas are for my entertainment, but I do ground myself in reality, and I don't let myself wander off too much into philosophy to the point where I don't know how to find my way back to reality, such as some pseudo-intellectuals on the internet these days. They get so lost in their metaphysical and philosophical thoughts, they don't even know what basic reality is. I like to stick to the basics.
Yeah, but the reality is it's not like when we say metaphysical, we are saying something which is outside of reality, right?
That's precisely what metaphysical is.
Not necessarily.
Dealing with the realm of possibilities and plausibilities to the point where you just stretch it, where you're building a world based on logic alone, or you try to go with logic alone to the point where you wander so far away from what is certain. You end up creating a caricature. You end up creating a caricature of your insecurities, your fears, and your emotions. If human beings were not emotional, then I would trust metaphysics. But you can't trust metaphysics because of human emotions.
Anyway, let's go down this path. Maybe too much of that. Let me present to you the argument I came with today. Right. First, I mean, I wouldn't. Let me probably you don't want to go down the path of syllogism, but I'll try to present it in the most basic form. Right. I would take on the aspect of morality, right? And
let me tell you something about a syllogism, bro. If you're gonna make such an argument, just state the argument without saying what it is. And if it makes sense, even someone who doesn't come from the same school of philosophy as you will still be able to understand. Because, bro, I have never been to school to study actual philosophy. So you can hit me with some philosophical term where I understand the concept very well, but if you don't verbalize the concept, I probably just think you're full of shit. So rather than using the word, present the concept, present your position in whatever way you think it's most efficient for you. And now, if I'm if I'm not able to comprehend it, then it's on me.
All right, no problem. All right, so this is the first premise, right? Ethics or morality, as we know it, it either comes from a natural source, morality and moral agents, which morality in moral agents or the access to this moral realm, it either comes from a natural source, which presumably is and this my proof for God by contradiction, right? So contradiction, I just have to show you that I have to take the other side of it and then show where there's a contradiction, and then that proves that the other side is false. Therefore, the other side, the opposite idea is true, right? I know. Let me take that again.
Not always necessarily, because it depends on circumstances and conditions. There's no syllogism that is isolated. No, listen. That is why syllogisms naturally are not always grounded within reality. Because if you build a syllogism based on realistic facts, where there is no alternative context, then maybe it will be solid. But if you just make it vague, as though reality is conclusively just one, to where there's no alternative ways of looking at things, then you always lose. Because I'm telling you, bro, no matter what syllogism you build, bro, I can find a problem with your premise. We won't even get to the conclusion.
No problem. That's when you if you find a problem that you point it out, right? That's where discussion or debate comes into play.
Go ahead.
If I make an argument and I give a premise and you don't agree with the premise, then you point out what's wrong with the premise. So I want to use proof for God by contradiction. So what that means is I'm gonna take the idea that God doesn't exist, and then use premises, and then prove at the end a conclusion that is contradictory to the initial premise. Then that means this direction is implausible, which therefore means the opposite is true. You get it?
I got it. Go ahead. I'm still waiting.
Right, so if we have morality, if morality exists, whether it be subjective or objective morality, right, then it either has one source. First, either the source is transcendental, meaning it's something outside of this universe, or outside.
Say that again.
Physical. If morality exists, it means we have this moral intuition and we are moral agents, right? So I don't know if you hold to objective morality or subjective morality, but if you hold to subjective morality, then you will still agree that we have this communal idea of what morality is, even if we don't think it's objective, right? There's this communal idea of what we think is morally right or morally wrong to do. Are you following, or do you agree?
If morality
exists, okay, do you think morality exists? Let me ask it that way first.
If morality doesn't exist,
so you hold to some form of nihilism?
No.
Is that the case?
No. Morality in of itself doesn't exist. Morality is a man-made concept that attempts to define how human beings conduct themselves. And because human beings all have unique experiences, they can only conduct themselves commonly after communicating and establishing a standard. But outside of a standard, you shouldn't expect human beings to conduct themselves based on a unifying code.
Okay, but when you say morality doesn't exist, and then you turn around and say it's a man-made construct.
It has no ontology. Morality doesn't exist. It's just a description to a behavior. It's not a thing in and of itself. That's what
I like the word you use. You said ontology. I guess those of you who went and ate that philosophical stuff in school, man, you guys know those words.
No. I hate Phil bros. Don't lump me in with them, dude. I have to do what they're laying asses in.
Those people are, bro. Phil bros are genuinely dumb, bro. In my opinion, I think it's
they love the sound of their own voice is what it is, and they love to sound like they're smart. So they just come up with this sophistry. They like to play word games. That's all it is.
For real. And they never get to the basis of anything. They literally just float on the clouds of philosophical terms.
Yep, they'll never land like something concrete.
It's not even I mean, I don't know where you guys are digressing to, but philosophy is just tools. It's just a tool which we use to convert. If I speak, you understand me. If I use some kind of analogy, you understand, then you'll be philosophical, right? Because it's just a tool we use to.
That's why I said to you, if you have a concept, just present your concept without being a field bro. But go ahead. You said if morality, then what?
So I was saying morality exists. It either has a transcendent source or it has a natural source. So, but you said morality doesn't exist. So, and you gave you made a case why you think morality doesn't exist. And you say it's a human construct, right? So, if a human builds a house, then doesn't the house exist?
Like, I
Yeah,
mean,
but
that
but the
already
house
by
has
itself.
ontology. The house has ontology. It's physically something. Morality is not physically something. It's only conceptually something.
Yeah, but again, it exists, right? So even if it's conceptual or it's physical, it exists.
Yes, as a concept in of itself, it's not considered something that exists. It's a man-made concept. So it's not a concept that's inspired by reality in of itself. It's a man-made concept, and it's very, very subjective, very, very abstract. So what we attempt to do as human beings, because of the unique way that our intellect manifests itself, is to create standards. And you see how difficult it is. That's why we still have so much conflict in the world, because it's not an easy thing. You know, it's like you're trying to take every grain of sand on the sea and shape it in the same shape and chisel it into the same shape. That's a very difficult task.
I'm not doing that. I'm just saying, like, we have this. I mean, you can call it a human construct, right? But again, I think that is not a fair way of putting it, because if you say it's a human construct, right, and human construct will have some kind of timeline when it became meaningful, and probably it may also.
I don't think you understand. If you think that if you think based on your morality that it is bad to steal, and I think based on my morality that it's good to steal, those are two equally conceptually moral thoughts. That's still morality.
They're both propositions, moral propositions.
Right.
It's just a question of which is better or which is worse. And better or worse is going to require some sort of goal, right? So Bakanga and we have agreed. So this is how morality works, right? Morality is subjective. And the way that, what that means is Bakanga and I have presumably Bakanga, I hope I'm not right in this, but we have a goal of general well-being for all parties involved, respecting their rights, with respect to their rights, with respect to their beliefs, as long as autonomy. So if they own something, they should have the right to continue owning their property without someone else, against their will, depriving them of that property. Right. So pursuant to the goal of respecting everybody's rights, reducing the general harm, thank you, Kenyo, that's our guiding principle. And so whatever decision we take will be judged as moral or immoral based against that goal. That's how morality works.
Well put.
So what's your proposition? I'm not sure where you're trying to go.
He never quite vocalized his proposition, I guess.
Yeah, we are still in the first premise, which you guys are finding problems with it. So I don't know how I can proceed if we don't agree with the first premise or with
it's
the
a typical Phil bro problem. Because let me tell you something. When you make certain premises, bro, you have to take into consideration all the nuances associated with your premise. And that's literally what Saitam and I have been doing, bro. Like, you bring up your premise, we can show you all the nuances that make your premise not necessarily true or not necessarily objective. That's why it is wiser to say morality is subjective. And then we can try to have a level of communal morality based on shared goals, as Saitam said. So the only way you and I can have the same morality is, first of all, by establishing a common goal. With that common goal, we can then develop a contract.
All right.
A contract.
I began by saying, even if you hold to subjective morality or objective morality, it doesn't really matter, right? Based off of my argument, it doesn't really matter.
Okay, then complete your argument.
Okay, where I'm getting at is we are moral agents, and we have this moral intuition, right? And we make moral imperative. Whether I do something and your moral imperative, whether my actions is you have a different moral stance to my action, doesn't really matter, but you have a moral view. That's what I'm just simply saying. Like, there's this morality that we have. So what I'm saying is, it's either we have this moral this morality is somewhat transcendent, or it has a natural origin, right?
Okay, at the very best, we can say it has a natural origin, if anything.
Yeah, that's the two options I'm giving.
It's either it's transcendental, it's not possible. It can only be natural.
True. That's what, I'm taking the natural route to then prove that there's a contradiction at the end. That's what I'm doing.
Okay, go ahead.
So I think it's transcendental, right? But again, I want to prove by contradiction. So I'm taking the natural route to then show that there's a contradiction at the end. Does that make sense?
Go ahead.
All right. So if morality is kind of this intuition which we have, right, and we kind of like get it from we kind of get it from natural outcome, which the most probable will be evolution, right? We evolve to be this moral agent, right? So if we evolve to be this moral agent, and evolution by definition is a blind, survival of the fittest process.
It's not.
Wrong.
What is it then?
Oh man.
Let me give you a simple definition, side time.
Why you want to teach these guys basic science, man? Why don't you tell them, like...
Bro, it's common sense. You can only deal with these guys with common sense. That's why I'm not even going to give him any definition that is specific to a specific type of evolution. I'll just give him the generic definition. Evolution is just how things go from a simple state to a complex state. And that is a state by which we see that things change within reality. So if you have a problem with evolution, you have the problem with the word change. How do things change? Things change from complex states, from simple states to complex state, especially when it comes to living things. For non-living things, it's not actually specific, right? Things evolve and devolve. So those are also observable phenomena. So evolution is very, very real, very natural.
It's not, the crucial point he said, Bakanga, was he said it's, what'd you say, random, dude, fem?
I said it's blind. Evolution is blind, and evolution is...
That's the opposite of what evolution is. Evolution.
Okay, what is evolution? What is the opposite? Which is
specific and precise.
So evolution has a goal in mind?
But fam, you gotta let me answer your question, man.
Oh, okay, go ahead, sorry.
Okay. It's very specific and precise to the conditions required for that population to continue to have fitness, survival fitness. It is not blind.
When we say, do you know when they say evolution is blind, what that really means? I mean, if you know what that really means. When we say evolution,
did you understand what I just explained to you?
Yeah, but I think you didn't understand.
Okay, what did you understand of what I said to you? Put it in your own words. The goal of evolution, if there can be said anything called a goal, because again, evolution is not. It's not some driven purpose by some intelligent agent.
It's an implied type of purpose.
We're doing post hoc. We're adding the reasoning after the thing has survived and said, okay, yeah, this is why this species survived, because the conditions arose for this phenotype to let it survive. That's what happened. Go ahead.
Very descriptive rather than prescriptive.
True, but blind in the sense that it didn't have it in mind. Okay, like for instance, humans exist today. So evolution, maybe 10 million years ago, didn't have it in mind that humans will exist at this period in time, right? Or you bring humans into existence at this point in time.
That's a fundamental misunderstanding of evolution and the context in which he said he's using the word purpose, right? It's after the fact. It's not before the fact. Now, after the fact, we're describing what's happening and we're using terms that are best suited for our understanding. But upon deeper understanding, you will notice that there's no intentionality involved. That's why it's descriptive. It's kind of like the difference between the laws of nature and the laws we make. The laws of nature don't have a specific purpose. We do call them laws to facilitate our understanding. So we make a distinction between those types of laws as being descriptive rather than prescriptive. It's not telling you that this is what you must do. It's telling you that this is how it is. You see, and if you do something like this, because it is like this, you will get this result. So species, fundamentally living things, life has to strive to survive because every living thing in its environment has to wrestle against the chaotic hostility of its environment. And the conditions for life are very fragile compared to the conditions that extinguish life. So living things evolve, as in they adapt. And they go from simple ways of doing things to complex ways of doing things to keep up with the ever-changing environment around them. Because the world around us is changing, we have to change too in order to survive. And any species that is incapable of changing goes extinct. And that extinction in of itself has no bearing on the totality of all that exists. It's just singularly exclusive to that thing. For example, we live in a society, right, where you have to get a job, you have to work, and you have to pay your bills. If I fail to adapt to the society as it is, I might make stupid decisions that will cause me to die. Me dying is a failure of a failure of my part to evolve and keep up with society and survive. But me dying does not change the inherent nature of society. The world continues to change, and those who adapt would last longer. It's simple as that. It's not the same as something which we are talking about before the fact. Okay, this is how you must do this to get this specific result, because getting this specific result is absolutely necessary to meet a specific goal. Evolution has no specific goal in hand, because evolution is not a person. It's a phenomenon that we describe, right? And we exist within that phenomenon. We demonstrate behaviors within our own subjective humanity that, to a certain extent, resembles what we observe, but not in the same way. That's why there's a very difference between microevolution, biological evolution, from evolution simply as a word that describes change from one state to another. I don't know if you understand that.
Yeah, I get what you say, and probably that is what I meant when I said blind, right? That evolution has no goal in mind, so it doesn't have a goal to say, okay, I have to preserve humans or more, maybe 10,000 years for humans to
It's not a
exist.
thing to have a goal. It's just a description that we use to describe the process.
And that's what biologists mean when they say evolution is blind. I'm not using this word
fam. What you're trying to say, fam? You're trying to say evolution is not a person. It's not a mind.
I'm not saying it's a mind. These are.
No, I know. That's what you're trying to say.
Blind doesn't necessarily mean mind or person.
Hold up.
Fam. The predicate doesn't necessarily have to be.
Fam,
Yeah.
you're trying to say it's not a mind. It's not a mind, so it has no intended goals. Only a mind can formulate goals. Only a mind necessitates goals in order to process information and to achieve what it wants. That's what you're saying. So you should verbate it as evolution doesn't have a mind, so it doesn't demonstrate characteristics consistent with something that has a mind. Simple as that. So what we observe happening within evolution will be void of any mind-dependent type behavior. That's what you're trying to say.
How about the second active phrase I used in my definition about how that evolution is survival of the fittest? Do you agree with that or do you disagree with that? Because I think that's where my argument is.
No, hold up. Survival of the fittest is an element of evolution, not the totality of it.
Yeah.
True, I agree with that.
It's inheritable traits that lead to the survival of the fittest of the populations. But what's your, man, like I still haven't heard, we've been talking for like 10 minutes now about Bakanga. What is this? Can you just give me the syllogism?
Yeah, maybe we should just keep quiet and let him just spell it out.
I mean, you guys keep intercepting every time I get along. So anyway, so the point I was trying to go get at is, if we have something as moral intuition, right, and it supposedly comes from evolution, right, and evolution is supposedly this blind and random process. This blind and survival of the fittest process. Something like empathy should not be from this process, right? Because this process supposedly, if organism and species, right, supposedly strive to survive and is survival of the fittest, then something like empathy cannot come from it. It will be a contradiction for something like empathy or goodness or kindness, all these virtuous attributes to come from this process, because it's a survival of the fittest. Therefore, it cannot come from this fundamental process. Therefore, it has to come from something outside of evolution.
Bakanga, I knew when he said survival of the fittest, I was like, we should probably explain that, but he seemed like he had gotten it.
So you got this one, side time. You got this one, because this bro just made my head hurt with what he just said.
So, Fem, I specifically talked about inheritable traits for populations. Do you remember me saying that?
Yeah.
Okay, so when I say populations, do you think I mean individuals, or do you think I mean a people group or a animal
species group? Yeah,
species group. There we go.
True, but again, survival of the fittest is not about species group. It's not only about species group, right? The survival of the fittest among species group as well as within species group.
No, it is literally talking about the general entire collective group of that species. So so humans are pretty weak. We're pretty weak and we're pretty defenseless. You understand that, right? We're one of the most defenseless animals in the wild.
If not the most. We're probably the most, not just one.
Yeah,
I mean, in what sense do you mean that we are most defenseless?
I'm going to tell you, our hands are like there's no claws, our teeth are not, there's no fangs. One swipe from an animal, and our intestines will just spill out. The skin is super soft.
But again, we have intellect that is way beyond everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I wouldn't consider that we are the weakest.
The best way for a species like us to exist and survive would be a communal species that helps one another, right?
Yeah, I get, yeah.
So that's why, and not just for humans, even for a dog. Dogs even hunt in packs. Wolves hunt in packs. Lions hunt in packs. Buffaloes roam around in packs. Animals that help one another have a higher chance as a whole group, as a total group, of having their survivability. That means to say them having children, continuing to proliferate and pass on their group, having them survive increases, as opposed to an individualistic animal which shows no what's the word I'm looking for? Characteristics of compassion, consideration, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say, imagine if all humans were psychopaths. We did not give a shit about any one another, and this is ancient times where we all had to scavenge and survive out in there, and there's dangerous animals lying around. Who's going to survive? The one that cohesively, as a unit, works together and takes care of one another, or the one that is all psychopathic and completely individualistic and doesn't care for one another? Which one is going to have a higher survival chance?
I think maybe the ones that are collective, that they work as a social.
So that's why
that's what survival of the fittest is.
Yeah, that's why we know evolution
from the perspective of evolution. Yes. Traits.
All right, so I just did a quick AI, search of what if for survival of the fittest in evolution. The definition of biological evolution only has to do with species groups or within a species group, right? Meaning, is the survival of the fittest an idea against species group or within a species, individuals within a species group? Are they also striving to survive or faced with this idea of survival of the fittest? And it does say individuals in a species group, not just or the entire species group, right? So it's not like, I don't think there's any binding constraint that survival of the fittest in evolution is only among species group, like humans trying to survive. Within humanity, we also have individuals striving to survive within this species group.
That's true, but you're not understanding what he's saying. At the scale at which you're trying to determine compassion and morality, we're looking at a species group compared to a species that is in grouping compared to a species that is pretty much by itself. That species would not naturally be able to meet its challenges, because if that specific individual species was to die, there's no one to carry on its genetics or its legacy. But because we are communal, not only are we going to multiply more, we're going to depend on each other more. We're going to be able to face our hostilities more. Even if between our group, our species, there's individual groups like tribes and countries and nations, ultimately, we still survive as a species. And then the specific groups among us that are most fit will still survive, but they will still be part of that species. So whether it's intra-species or just the species, the entire species group itself, that species survives, right? All right, so how do I put it? Let's say white people evolve quicker than everybody else, and white people survive. You will still be able to say that the human species survive. Even if Asians are not there or blacks are not there, human species still survive. And you'll still be able to say white people survive. And among white people, they'll still have compassion for each other, which is a natural product of that socializing, that social dependency, right? Like, empathy begins at the elementary level, not necessarily a very intentional thing, more of a realization that is gained throughout time as you realize that you're dependent on someone to assist you for your survival. That person's well-being becomes a care for you. You start caring about that person. The reason for your compassion might differ. You might care about that person because that's the only place you can go and get food from. You might care about that person because that's the person you sleep with, is your wife. You might care about that person because that's your child. They provide you with emotional benefits. But that won't even be possible if you are not a species that works in groups.
So in other words, what you're saying is these virtues in humans probably they're a source from evolution, right? We have evolved to have these virtues, right?
It's a byproduct of how we've evolved. Yes.
All right, great. So if we go by that line of thinking, right, wouldn't you also say that if we continue to evolve, we'll evolve out of them? Like maybe we'll evolve out of things like empathy, love. We can also evolve. There's a possibility of us evolving out of them.
The concept of empathy will not go away because it's also like a self-soothing idea, right? Compassion is not something you can only have for something outside of yourself. You can also have compassion for yourself. You can also be kind towards yourself. And that's literally what survival is.
True, I agree all that with you, but the problem is
it's not just that. It's not just that. Like, in order for a trait to go away, there has to be some sort of evolutionary drive for it to go away.
What do you mean by evolutionary drive?
So what is evolution? There's going to be some sort of factors, right, that eliminate the need for this phenotype, the need for this expression of this characteristic. So what is a social or environmental or societal, what pressure is existing that would remove the need for empathy or compassion? What would look?
Yeah. What existential threat?
Again, I don't need to know any, right? That's what I'm saying. If evolution is, again, we need the circumstances and the condition that led to humans, for us to have humans from evolution, we're in the same circumstances and situation we have maybe 10 million years ago, right? So, but again, down the line, we had these circumstances. So if you're saying also the virtues which we have in humans, right, are also from evolution, then it means up the line, right, if we continue to evolve, then the conditions and everything to make, there's a possibility that we may evolve out of these virtues, right?
No.
Why not? That's the problem. If we evolve to them, then why can't we evolve out of them?
The virtues remain themselves by definition.
But yeah, true.
But how we show them would change as long as we remain communal. The only way we evolve outside is if we become self-independent to where we no longer need to depend on each other, which is really hard to conceive. I mean, we'll have to become your delusional deity, all-powerful, all-knowing, and omnipresent. Because
haven't even bring God into this matter. We are still wrestling with the contradiction that atheism presents us.
We cannot undo the past. We cannot undo how we evolved to where we are right now. And we've evolved to be a species that can only survive in groups. So if the day comes to where we can survive without being in groups individually, think about it. There'll first of all be a conflict within our species to where you end up with just one person. And then when that one person dies, our species goes extinct. So the only way we evolve or get to the point where there's no compassion is if we go extinct. As long as we remain there, that need to care for each other, to help each other out, would always be there. So show me a world in which human beings don't need each other, and you can show me a world in which there's no compassion.
Again, you're also building up on some presupposition that human beings are this, inherently valued species, right? Which, again, that is, we don't get that from evolution.
Hold on. We don't have that presupposition.
So he makes it because his argument is based off that we have to survive. We have to, and what is there in the universe that says we have to survive or we must survive?
I'm saying it from our perspective, since we're the ones reasoning it, and we end up, well, unfortunately, humans, right? And we understand our own experiences. You understand what family means. This social grouping within our species, we give them different names, from family to friendship to nations to countries and to the whole world. That's what it is. Now, none of these, family is not just one person. It's at least one or more. A nation is not just one person. It's at least one or more. And in order for you to define those things as family or nations, it implies one or two people working together. So naturally, there's room for compassion and kindness and all these virtues you're talking about, which is a natural consequences of how we've adapted and evolved over time, thanks to our biological needs, right? And thanks to our common conflict with the things that threaten our existence. When natural disasters come, Go ahead. Go ahead.
Just that even bacteria, single-celled bacteria, have a desire to survive. So when he says we all have to survive, he's talking about the innate characteristics of all, one of the defining traits of all life. Life desires to proliferate, digest, survive, have schmecks, and continue to propagate its species. So that's what he means. It doesn't mean he's presupposing the intrinsic value of humans. Just from our perspective, like he just said, every being, and we are humans, of course, we're going to want to survive. That's right. One of the definitions of life. That's what he means.
Okay. If you find,
look, you've made errors every step of the way with every part of your premises. Can you just give me the syllogism and then we can just continue, because this is dragging on and on.
I've made a case here. Okay, let me break it down easy if you will not interrupt. The first premise.
It's not about easy or not. You're making errors, and we're trying to explain it to you. No part of what you said was hard to understand. I don't know why you think you're.
No, but again, you're asking me to say it again all over. If no part was hard to understand, then why would I have to say it all over again? Because I've said it.
Because you're making errors.
Then I wouldn't change it if I made an error.
Because you don't understand the basics of the words that and terms that you are using. The fault isn't on us; it's on your end.
Okay, give me one word I use which I didn't understand the basis of the word I use.
You literally don't understand evolution.
God, can we move
on? You literally do not understand evolution.
I'm referring to. Okay. I mean, like, I really don't understand what is there to understand about evolution outside of the way I'm using it, right? I don't need to be a biologist. I just need to understand enough about evolution to be able to make a case why I think there are certain things that cannot come from evolution. That's just the case I'm making. That there are certain things which are attributes of human beings that cannot come from evolution. In fact, they are contrary to the way evolution works. That's what I'm saying, right? There are certain things that traits that human beings have that can possibly not come from evolution, and they are contrary to the way evolution works.
Okay, which one?
Okay, I mentioned a few of them. Intrinsic value in inherent value of humans. Those are. We see human beings and we see value, and
nobody,
value is not
first and foremost, you have made an error again.
What is the error?
You have made a presupposition that there is inherent value to humans. There isn't. There is only value because we are humans. We understand and desire our own survival. Therefore, we attribute value. That's it.
But nothing outside of ourselves necessitates that we continue to exist.
Outside. It's inside. It's innate, intrinsic to us from our perspective. There's no standard outside of us that's like, oh, humans? Yeah, they're important. Nothing.
All right, great. So I asked this question then. This was a follow-up question I asked. It means, and you guys said most of the traits which we have today in terms of even value attributes, right? All of these traits come from evolution, right? Meaning, probably at some point in human evolution, we didn't have this trait, or maybe to the extent in which we have them today. Is that correct?
Maybe not. We can't say for sure which trait we don't know behavioral patterns 10 million years ago of ancestor of man, right? So we can't say for sure. We'll have some extent of knowledge to parts of our existence that long ago. What is your question? Which of the traits we have cannot be explained? Go ahead.
So the question I was trying to follow up is, if we evolve to have these things, right, isn't it also the case that we can evolve out of these things? Like if we evolve to...
Explain this one to you already, my friend. You are not listening. In order for a trait to go away, there has to be some pressure, some survival pressure that negatively affects its expression. It's the characteristics, its expression. For example, skin color, right? Mm-hmm. We're dark-skinned. In order for darker skin to go away, we need to be in a situation where dark skin negatively affects your chance of survival. Are you with me so far? Expressly so. It will negatively, you have to fight against it. If it exists, you will unalive. Okay. Now, if I'm having a trait which doesn't negatively affect the outcome of my survival, then there is no reason for that trait to go away.
It's so simple, man.
What I was asking is more of a metaphysical possibility. But again, I get what the explanation you made, right? But again, I critique the explanation you made by saying we don't know the conditions change as well, right? Over time, the conditions change, or the pressures, the environmental pressures change. It change. So, is there a possibility that environmental pressure can change in the long run or in the short run to
realistically, we can't think of anything. No, realistically, we don't see anything particularly that will happen that will cause man to lose compassion for himself. Like I said, unless it's like an existential crisis that leads to our extinction. Something like compassion is literally a cultivated type of way of approaching and dealing with each other, right? To the point where as long as one or two human beings exist and they're not in a state of war, compassion will dwell. Like he said, there has to be a reason, and war can be a good reason that can make compassion go away. We remain in a warring state until one group completely exterminate another group, but within that one group that survives, they will still get along, and compassion won't go away. Kindness won't go away. These virtues won't go away until there's only one person left in the world, and even that one person will still need to be kind and compassionate towards himself. And then unless he dies and then humanity vanishes, then now you can say compassion has completely gone out of the way. That human beings, it's not even evolution, it's just devolution. At the point, we devolved. We receded backwards.
Do you think every human on earth is compassionate about themselves or love themselves?
No. No.
They don't, right?
That's why we have psychopaths and sociopaths. There are
I guess that makes sense. That makes sense.
Even if
errors
taking away the
not render them to have the same characteristics and traits that everyone else does have. Because there is no such thing as a perfect being or a perfect blueprint. Every individual is different and only depends on how they fare, how their survival fares within the context of their surroundings, the traits that they have and how it helps them.
Fam, you've created a problem here by not completely stating your point. That's what he said. Say your syllogism from beginning to the end, uninterrupted.
All right. The first premise I gave was that there are certain traits in human beings that I don't think can come from. Anyway, that's my position. But let me get a syllogism by themselves. So I think there are traits in human beings which either they have a transcendent source or they have some kind of natural source, right? And I mentioned a few of them, things like love, virtues such as love, inherent value, all this compassion, empathy, all these things. I think they have some type of transcendent source, not natural, right? And I was supposed to show that if we are looking at natural, then evolution will be certainly the source. So human beings evolved to have this, right? And then I'm able to show that, and now the whole proof is a proof by contradiction. And the way proof by contradiction works is, if I take a position, if I have two options.
No, bro. State your syllogism.
Yeah, I'll
keep explaining principles.
If you don't understand the proof, then the conclusion will not make sense. That's why I'm trying to make sure that you understand
no, you don't have to make sure. The point of you stating a syllogism is that we should already be able to understand what you're saying without you having to explain it.
Okay, it's a proof by contradiction. So I'm taking the opposite side and then show that there's a contradiction at the end.
You don't have to say that, just state it.
All right, so I've stated that these traits, okay, let's assume they come from evolution. Then if you go down the line and understand what evolution really is, you see that there's a contradiction between the process of evolution and these traits by themselves, right? Therefore, these traits cannot come from evolution. And I mention one of them. Evolution is survival of the fittest, both among species group and within species group. But then we have things like empathy, things like compassion.
What is empathy? What is empathy?
What is empathy? Empathy is having compassion for one another or for other humans, especially for suffering.
What does it mean to have compassion?
What does it mean to have compassion?
Yeah.
I think compassion is some kind of an emotional or sensational feeling, or let me say emotional feeling of grief for others. Let me put it that way. Especially others in pain and in hostile conditions. That would be compassion. Maybe in hunger, famine, all those kind of things. Those would be compassion. So you can't have those traits. You can't have that kind of feeling.
Why will a human being grieve another human being?
Why would they do it? For me, it's simple, right? I think God has implanted these virtues inside of us that we're able to. I mean, that's my own basic, simple explanation. But probably you don't.
No, that's not a basic explanation.
That is mine.
No,
that is my.
Nobody puts emotion. Yeah, that's the point. You keep making errors. Nobody puts emotions in us. Our emotions define our state of being, and our state of being is highly dependent on our environment and what we're experiencing. So your compassion is gonna literally be exactly the same. It's gonna be based on your state of being, as in affected by your environment and what's happening around you. That's what will lead to that. So Your environment will have to change, not you necessarily. And if your environment changes in a way that doesn't affect your survival, you have no reason to change yourself. That's what Saitan was saying earlier, right? In order for a trait to go away, the trait has to become harmful to our survival. So the day compassion becomes a problem for human survival, then we're gonna have to get rid of compassion, right? Think about it. I can picture a scenario where compassion might be a problem to human survival, but not compassion towards human, compassion towards something non-human. Let's say there's something that's killing humans, and we're over here showing that thing compassion by allowing it to survive. Then it's just gonna kill us. That's why we fight against viruses and bacteria. If it was up to us, we would completely wipe those things out. Those things are hostile towards our survival. And guess what? Those things have to evolve to survive the weapons we throw at them. Then they will not be able to survive. They will go extinct. So those things are pretty much in conflict with us. Bacteria and viruses and parasites that are hostile towards our existence. And because they're hostile towards our existence, we have to be hostile towards their existence. We have no compassion for viruses and bacteria. And bacteria and viruses have no compassion for us because we are their host. We are how they feed, we're how they multiply, we're how they grow, right? That's why if HIV/AIDS ever becomes eradicated, that means that we drove it into extinction. That's it. We became, or vice versa.
There's European populations that are completely immune to HIV. And the current, I think it's a theory now, not a hypothesis anymore. The bubonic plague weeded out anybody who had the, weaker constitution that couldn't handle such a infection. But now, so hence you have people in Europe who can never get HIV, right? Because of evolution.
At the genetic level, human beings develop, how do you put it? Antibodies, immunity. And immunity is a trait that can be inherited through reproduction. And over years of continuous immunization, what he's saying is possible in many cases.
Which I agree with many of the things which you guys are saying. I do agree with them, and I think also they are somewhat in line with what I'm saying. But maybe where we are getting at is more of the epistemology, right? Like I feel like we kind of like need to ground how we know most of these things, right? And how we are certain on most of these things. Because, for instance, something like empathy, right? If you say that truth is from a natural, because I don't know if there's a third option, let me know. If human beings have these virtues, right? I think there are only maybe two options we can get them from, which is either naturally, maybe through evolution process, or
do you know that empathy, as we describe it as a social construct, is not necessarily the same thing as empathy as a biological function within the human body? What's motivating empathy would be purely biological, and because our biology is a product of evolution, we can see how that is, right? Now, as a social construct, we define it very differently, and we should express it very differently, but it's a product of our biology, naturally, a product of evolution. And so like I said, until it becomes hostile to our existence, there's no reason for it to go away.
So we have not. Oh, sorry if I intercepted you. I'm sorry about that. But if you have something to say, maybe finish.
It's a natural tendency that we've developed thanks to how we have biologically evolved to be who we are.
Yeah, that's where I'm getting at, right? We have biologically evolved to come to this point, right? So I'm asking you the simple question, right? And I'm trying to pronounce it. Satyam. So Satyam actually gave an explanation to it, which I think that doesn't really answer the question, right? Because he said, unless we have certain pressures on society, on the environment, then that can take away that trait. True, which is true, and
that's why it's ridiculous to even think of it, because
the pressures do evolution. Evolution is not a static; it doesn't rely on one static pressure, right? The pressures do change over time. So, do you think that maybe in the near future or the distant future, the pressures are going to change to take away these virtues that human beings have? Things like empathy, love, compassion, generosity, all this kind of empathy.
No.
Why not?
It seems silly.
Why does it seem silly when the pressures change and that the pressures of evolution change?
I'm asking you. I'm answering.
Yeah.
any situation, people work together are always going to be stronger than individuals working apart.
I agree with you.
Simple. Yeah. So mathematically speaking, there's just no way that a situation is going to arise where human beings are being selected for being more selfish and less helpful to one another.
Can I ask a question? A follow-up question. Has every organism that existed every species that ever existed, do they still exist today, or some have gone extinct?
You don't know if species have gone extinct?
We know for sure that species have gone extinct.
Why are you asking? Why are you asking?
So the point I'm trying to get at is,
don't try to get any points. Just make the point. We got
the point I'm making is
interacting with every point you're saying and showing you where you're wrong. So
okay. If the point I'm making is, if species have existed, right, and they lived, they thrive, which probably means they may have had this social construct, and then they went extinct. Maybe pressures changed, and trace went away in them. Why is that not possible with humans? I mean, they went extinct, so why is that not possible with humans? Yes, because maybe the pressures.
Species go through extinction through natural means and predatory means, right? Environmental reasons and predatory reasons. Okay, so we have to some extent or the other mastered both. So the chance of us being, extincted the same way is next to nil, except and unless, of course, some alien species comes along and wipes us out. So that's why that doesn't apply. What kind of question are you asking, man?
The whole planet should just blow up and we all die, right? And that in of itself.
There's like a volcano or an asteroid that just comes along and yeah. So that's the only way. No animal is ever going to be stronger than us with a pew pew or a nuclear boom boom or whatever. So what are you asking me?
That's not the point I'm getting. I'm not saying on a threat from another species. I'm saying within our own species, right? We have these virtues that helps us to live as a social gathering and social species, and together we have these virtues that we have evolved to have them. So the question the question I'm asking is, what if isn't it possible that down the line we evolve out of this virtue, therefore we cannot live together?
No, because
there's no chaos in our species.
No.
Why is that a possibility?
Because we've evolved to these virtues have become necessary for our existence. So it can only disappear in the case where we don't exist.
There you go again. You're bringing on necessity into it. How are they necessity if we came to have them at some point? They are not necessity.
Because
they're not necessity in human existence. If we again, that all of this contradicts with evolution. That's what I'm simply pointing at. So there's a contradiction.
Again, I don't know. There's no contradiction because you just don't understand.
About, man?
Well, you don't understand this. You don't understand evolution as a process and the different byproducts of evolution and how things take different shapes and form and the state in which things exist. All of that into consideration, we can extract from that the fact that human beings have developed compassion for each other thanks to the need to collaborate. And we've found compassion to be an effective form of collaboration. So much that in the absence of compassion, our chances of survival actually reduce because we actually can lead to our own extinction. So we can picture a day when we decide that we're just going to kill ourselves off. Unless something comes from outside of us and wipes us out, we will continue to collaborate and find efficient ways to be compassionate. That's literally how our species is changing and evolving over time, right? Everything we do, the doctor who is doing cancer research probably doesn't even have cancer himself. Yeah, he might want to get rich, but there's a compassionate aspect of it where he wants to see someone that has cancer get healed from it. Some of them are not even motivated by the money. The construction worker that builds the road so that his mother, who drives on that road to go to work, wouldn't die, though primarily he's doing it for money. It becomes almost very natural to us. Those virtues, the virtues you talk about. And within our different social group, we express them differently. And there's so many different expressions of it. Even if one specific expression of compassion and our virtues was to become outdated, the virtue as a concept wouldn't go away. So I don't even know why you're wrestling with that. It's not even an issue. It doesn't even relate to evolution. It doesn't change the fact that things go from a simple to a complex state. So we've gone from a very simple state in the beginning, right? Our compassion for each other was probably very simple because we didn't have sophisticated problems as we have today. We were not as numerous, right?
I mean, I don't think empathy or compassion is simple than apathy, right? Apathy is more complicated than empathy. Empathy is more uniform, but apathy, just imagine that you have to always think about survival in the sense that somebody has to go down for you to rise up, and you have to always think about snitches. Isn't that more complicated to handle than just having to love everybody and be compassionate about everybody? I mean, that instead seems like
but there's a level of moderation, right? To where you might want someone to go down in order for you to make it, but we are evolving away from needing someone to go down completely out of existence in order for you to make it. Sometimes you just want someone to be at a lesser social status so you could be at a higher social status. That person can still live a very fruitful life at that level, and then you will be at your level, compared to the time when we think that, okay, those people over there must all die in order for us to survive, which was how things used to be in the past. But thanks to technology and communication, we've gotten to the point where we understand that, okay, I might need to have this and that person might need to have less, but as long as they have enough to survive, that's all that matters, right? So no one is taking too much from another person to the point where the other person cannot survive. So inherently, it's not a threat to our survival.
I guess we have come to a dead wall, but if I ask,
we never got to any dead wall, bro, because you never really properly vocalized anything that sounded like you had a proper understanding of it. I think you're having a problem because you're trying to compare evolution and how evolution affects reality in the same capacity that you conceptualize your God in the head. You're implying intentionality a lot, right? Rather than just looking at things as they are, understanding them as they are, understanding the nuances of those things that affect those things as they are, without intentionality. And the only intentionality...
I haven't bring intentionality into this into this in any way. I'm just reasoning things to its logical conclusion, right? I'm just reasoning things to its logical conclusion. And the simple analogy
Let me ask you a question.
If we evolve to have this traits, can we evolve out of them? That's the simple thing I'm asking. And you said it's not possible. And I'm asking you to give me the reason why it's not possible, justification for that. Yeah.
Can the earth ever get so cold that heat stops to exist?
Yeah, the earth can get that's a possibility. It's a metaphysical possibility.
Can the earth
right?
ever become so cold that heat stops existing?
No, I don't think that's a possibility. That's true. That can happen. Heat will always exist. But heat on the earth will not exist because the earth has become so cold. So heat on the earth will not exist. But
bro, if you even have a variation of temperature, if you even have a variation of 1 degree, that implies hotter and colder. No, even if the base temperature is negative 100.
Then there's a contradiction with the first statement you make that the earth is so cold because it will still be really.
No, I'm telling you that
doesn't follow that.
Listen.
Mm-hmm.
If the average temperature of Earth is 100 degrees Fahrenheit, the average, right? And then you have some places where it's 800 degrees. That means that those places are colder. That's that. Okay. The idea of cold will not go away, but what cold is will change. Right? If the whole Earth is negative 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and then some places is negative 900, that's a 100 difference in temperature. The idea of heat will not go away, but the standard for what is considered hot will change. It will still be frigid, but you still have a difference between cold and heat, and that's because it's naturally how the universe has evolved. Right? The idea of temperature will not go away either. So our compassion and our virtue are literally a state of being within the characteristics we've developed because of evolution. Regardless of what shape or form it takes, it remains itself conceptually. And your argument is I'm sorry to say, it makes no sense. Literally, it's a non-argument.
Okay, but do you know there are traits in humans that we all traits in human we evolved to have them, right? Meaning at some point in the distant past we didn't have them, or maybe we didn't have them like the way we have them today, correct?
The point is we had them.
We didn't have them, okay, but you say we didn't have them like the way we have them today, right?
The point is we had them.
but we didn't have them like the way we have them today. I mean, if we had them and we had them the same way we had them, then there's no evolution anymore. We didn't evolve. Because biological evolution means change of form as well.
I do not disagree with you. I simply said the point is that we have them.
No, then that contradicts. If by definition, evolve means you begin to have certain traits, right, which you grow to have certain traits, maybe in degrees which you didn't have before. Then you can't say you had them already, or you had them in the same degree like you have them today. That would be a contradiction of
regardless of what degree you have, the trait remains the trait. The different iterations of the trait might be different, but the trait remains the trait. That's why I gave you the example of temperature. Hot and cold will remain a natural part of the evolution of physical reality, regardless of how hot it is or how cold it is. Those traits will remain those traits, regardless of how they're expressed, or how intensely they're expressed, or what lack of intensity there is with the expression of it. You see, and this is why you shouldn't argue things that you don't really truly understand, or compare two things that you shouldn't be comparing. Because if your argument is that God is the one that's responsible, I mean, bro, do you understand how stupid that sounds, bro?
How stupid does it sound? If it best explains
how do you put empathy in a person?
How do you put empathy in a person? Again, I don't necessarily have to understand.
No. Listen. You're not getting it. Because even if your God could put empathy in people, it would still have to be through evolution. Evolution is literally a necessary ingredient in the process of how we develop certain traits.
But then we will not require evolution by itself to ground this truth, right? Or those traits are grounded within. They're already grounded by reality of the fact that it's present. We're not disputing its existence. But we are looking at the source and how we know that this is the source of this trait. That's what we are debating.
We can see that the source is inherently part of our makeup. It's a product of our makeup and our evolution and our state of being. Like I said, our state of being mentally depends on our state of being physically, and our state of being physically is our biology.
And all of this is a product of evolution, right? Based off of a naturalist.
Duh.
All of it is a product of evolution, right? Based on naturalism, or maybe
all of it is not necessarily. You know what? The amazing thing is, maybe I'm using the wrong word. It's not that all of it is a product of evolution. All of it is evolution. That's what evolution is. That's why evolution is a broad subject, right? Think about it, bro. Every drop of water in the ocean is water.
True.
So no matter how big the waves are, no matter how salty the water is, it's still water.
And you know what? The way I'm even using evolution here even encompasses cultural evolution as well. You know, both biological and cultural evolution. Because I also agree that cultures have evolved. You know, and again, like I said, if that is the case with any form of evolution, I
think your problem is with the word change.
What?
Your problem is with the word change.
Exactly. That's the core of evolution. Things keep changing gradually.
I think, Sam, it would really behoove you to go on YouTube. There are some excellent PhDs that will break down this entire concept in super simple, clearly easy to understand terms. Forrest Valkai, Gutsika Gibbons. You can probably type in morality and evolution, and you'll get a full depth explanation of how morality came about, what it has to do with evolution, how it's guided by evolutionary principles, and then I think you'll have a better understanding.
Oh, thank you. What's the name? I mean, I don't mind learning.
Possibly can to explain these concepts to you. And at this point, like, if you don't get what we're saying, I don't know.
What's the name? What's the name of the person?
I'll write it. I'll write it in the comments.
All right.
Thank you for your time, fam.
All right, no problem, brother. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
Yeah, no problem. Take care. Yeah. Nice guy. I appreciated talking to him. He's just misinformed or uninformed, rather.
God damn. I'm not an expert on biological evolution, guys, but the concepts associated with it, I don't think they're even that complicated to understand. And to be honest, if I really wanted to increase my knowledge, I'll go watch the same videos this man is telling to go watch. But it's
not that hard.
It wasn't even that complicated, what he was saying.
It's not.
All right, Queen, you're taking a long time to load. What's up, Scubby? What's cooking, Scubby? Scubby's supposed to be at work. He over here sending TikTok request. Yo, Saitan, were you following me on this page already, or did you find me because I put my other profile in the guest box?
Um,
Or did you find me because I put my other profile in the guest box?
I think I followed you.
Or did you find me because I put my other
All right,
profile
dude, you
in the
got a
guest
lot of
box?
background noise, man. You gotta cut that, dog. Yo.
Bro's trying to fuck up my eardrums. Even if my ears don't work, I'm still gonna say God doesn't exist.
I'm sick as a dog right now, and I've been coughing, and I still spent hours cooking up last night. So, cooking don't stop, guys. Come on up, request. Let's go.
Hello.
What's up, Kim? Yeah, we can hear you.
You say God doesn't exist. Well, I can see myself and I exist. That means I'm a
Holy
witness.
fucking shit. You know what? Saitam, that's you, bro. Oh, no way.
What did he say?
No way.
I can see myself. I exist.
Okay.
So you won't tell me I'm not a witness of what I see in this world.
What did you say? I want to tell you what?
So you want to tell me still I'm a blind man.
I don't want to tell you
Hello?
that. Who told you I want to tell you that?
Hello?
I said you exist. I acknowledge you exist. I'll say it right now. What's your name? Kim exists, everybody. He's a 100% real bona fide human being, and he exists. So what's the problem? What does that have to do with whatever? Why are you putting words in my
keep
mouth?
saying there's no God. And I can, according to my
There
eyes,
is not.
my heart, my spirits, I can feel there's God.
Okay, your heart has no
Because I can see.
capacity. Hold on. Your heart has no capacity to
Look at the
observe
world
anything.
itself.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your heart has no capacity to observe anything. Your spirit
My heart
isn't a
has
real
no capacity
thing.
to.
And if you have, are you saying you have seen this God character? Is that what you're saying?
I'm a witness through what I see, through my eyes.
Okay, so you have witnessed and verified this God character. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Do you have evidence of this?
Yeah, I can tell. Look at the nature I see.
No, here's the problem, right? Just because you've seen something doesn't mean it's real, correct?
Because I see something doesn't mean it's real. But I can touch it.
Sure.
And I feel
Listen
it.
to my question. I didn't ask you. I didn't ask you if you can touch it. I asked you, just
How do
because
you know
you've seen
something is
something
real or fake?
doesn't mean it's real, right? Okay, good. So if you say you've seen a God and a guy comes and tells me he saw
You don't have
flying
to see God with
unicorns.
your own eyes.
Oh my God, Kim,
But you can see it through the actions.
Kim,
Yeah?
you gotta listen to me and you gotta answer the questions I'm asking. They're very specific, precise questions, okay? Okay, you're claiming that you've seen God, right? So, do you understand why that would not be a sufficient reason for anybody to believe you?
No. That means if he is not believing
Hold
me,
on.
he is blind.
Okay, I'll tell you why. I got you.
He can't
So
see
you
through
don't
the
understand
eyes.
why that's a sufficient reason. I'll explain to you why it's not a sufficient reason. How many people have testimony in this world?
How many people have testimonies? I can't tell how many.
There's I think, what, 8 billion people? 8 billion people have testimonies in this world for all kinds of things, because testimony is definitionally personal. Everybody has seen something, right?
Exactly.
Right. So that wouldn't, if I took your testimony and then let's say you're a Christian, right, Kim? Okay. Let's say a Muslim comes and tells me he saw
I'm not a Christian.
Muhammad.
I'm not a religious person. First.
Okay, sure. Let's say you see your version of a God, and then let's say a Christian comes and tells me he saw Jesus. Now I have two conflicting testimonies, and you both can't be true, right? So testimony is not a good way for me to ascertain the truth of what you're claiming. I would need some sort of independent, objective way to verify that what you saw was actually real. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I'm getting.
Okay,
But
so
mine is
independent,
a confirmed-
objective, verifiable evidence do you have that has been tested, independently tested, third party, objectively tested and verified, that you can present to us that conclusively proves that your idea of this God exists?
For me, when I look at the nature, I exist. Another man exists.
I'm done, Bakanga. I'm done. Never mind. I see you throwing me under the bus, Bakanga. I didn't appreciate that.
No,
but
no,
I see
bro. From the moment he started speaking, I didn't know what kind of argument I could have with him. So let me just try to do this in 2 minutes. Kim,
I'm listening.
your misunderstanding of nature doesn't make what you conclude about it true unless it is testable and provable. Do you understand that?
So you want proof?
No, that's not what I said. Your misunderstanding of nature does not make the conclusion you draw true if it's not testable and provable. So just because you look at nature,
Who is supposed to prove it? Who is?
somebody who is not you must be able to prove it and come to the same
And
conclusion.
who is that? Are you
Anyone else but you. Anyone else but you.
Okay. Then you never get the answer that you keep looking for.
No, we can get the answers we keep looking for because we studied the world, we studied nature,
You
we
ignore
studied
what you
nature,
know and what
we
you can see, what
Kim.
you can conceive,
Kim.
and you act like, hey, yeah.
We study the world and we understand it. That's why we have science, and there's different sciences for
Understand the
different
world
things.
that you understand it. Then
Say
what
that
else
again?
do you expect? Then what else do you expect?
We understand that the world exists naturally and not because of God, because we're able to test it and we're able to research it, and we don't find God doing any of the things you say God did. God does not bring human beings into existence. God doesn't make plants grow. God doesn't make the rain fall. God doesn't make planets turn. God doesn't do any of those things. You think it's God.
Yeah, because it's a supreme being. There's no kingdom without
Regardless of what kind of being he is,
Have you ever
there's no
seen a kingdom
evidence.
without
There's no evidence that he's doing that.
So he is there. He exists
He only exists in your head.
through actions. You don't
No,
have
he
to
only
actually
exists.
see him through eyes.
He only exists in your head.
Exactly. In my head he exists. But even
Yeah.
if not you ask
You want to know what else exists in your head?
Huh?
You
What
you
else?
want to know what else exists in your head?
What else?
Superman and Spider-Man.
No.
Yes.
That's
We know that there's a lot of characters that exist in your head. Superman also exists in my head. I fight with Superman every night and I beat him up. When I go to sleep, I even dream about Superman. I dream the way I can fly and I punch Superman and Superman cries like a baby. Spider-Man, little guy. Are you going to tell me that Spider-Man is not real?
is real. Because he bring yeah.
This dude has lost the plot. Folks, don't turn to religion. We don't come on panels and talk about Spider-Man being real. Don't do it, guys.
I wish I could continue to this conversation, guys, but I gotta go. Thank you so much for everybody. This guy was the last clown of the day. I gotta go to work, y'all. Thank you so much, everyone. Side time, bro. Feel free to come back next time, bro. I'll probably be live same time tomorrow, bro.
Appreciate you. I'll see you then.
Yes, sir.
Take care.
Always.
Stay away from Christianity and Islam. Stay away from religion, folks. Use your brains, all right?
That's right. Yo, Kim.
Yeah.
How old are you?
I think I'm 30.
You think you're 30?
Yeah.
You're not sure?
I'm sure of. I'm 30.
Who answers the question of how old they are with I think I am? You're a very interesting guy, Kim. Do you have a wife and children?
Yeah.
You do?
Yes. I'm a father.
You need to wake up from sleep so you don't fuck up the life of your children. You have to be honest with your children. You want them to be scientific and technologically advanced, and your mentality is not going to help them. All right? Do it for your children's sake. The God you believe in did not help our ancestors. Our ancestors lost because they were not smart enough scientifically and technologically. So you should be focusing on improving yourself scientifically and technologically and teach your children so that tomorrow, if the Chinese people come, if the white people come, they can defend themselves. You want to give them, that's something real. If you want to tell them stories about gods, witches, and wizards, tell them stories, but make sure they are smart enough to separate the stories from reality. We know that there's no God because God, all those things that you say God does, He doesn't do it for anybody. He doesn't do the things that we need Him to do. So even if God exists, God is useless. Even if God exists, God is useless.
God is not useless. He give you the mind, the heart to think before He come, to be doing the things that He could.
Kim, thank you for your time, Kim. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. You guys have a blessed night. Bakanga.